What's going on, guys? Your boy Vin in the house. I figured that I would do an Ask Me Anything, so that you guys, we could get to know each other a little bit better. Haven't shot a video in a couple days, so I know we're behind on that. But I figured, you know what? We got some new subs, and a lot of people really don't know who I am and what we're about, etc., etc. So I figured, you know what? Let's do an Ask Me Anything and give people the opportunity to get to know your brother. So having said that, I'm going to kill this stream and, I'm not going to kill this stream. Having said that, you guys can let it fly. I did hear about the Simone Biles situation. You know, it's weird, to be honest with you guys. I haven't covered it, just like I didn't cover the Richard situation, just because I'm like, too hard of a thing to actually talk about for me, actually. So like, I'm not even gonna touch it. Shout out to the big homie Applejack, got the super chat in. Boo 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 boo. Okay, so let's go into it. First question. Yes, I've heard of Thomas Sowell. Wicked Bastard says, why do you think Jesus never condemned slavery? That's actually a really interesting question. Okay, so here's the first thing. So by the time of the Judaism of Jesus's day, Second Temple Judaism, the Jewish people, by and large, did not have slaves. Remember, they were under the occupation of the Roman government. So slavery at the moment was not a hot button issue. Furthermore, I would counter that and tell you a couple things. Number one, how did people end up in slavery in the ancient world, particularly the Roman world? Most of the time, it wasn't race-based slavery. It was twofold. One, it was debt slavery, right? So you get into indentured servitude. The other would be the Roman military would conquer a nation, kill all the warriors, and then, you know, the elderly and children and women could survive, and then you would have them as a group of slaves. And so the question is, how do you overcome this system? Because that's a decidedly evil system. And I would push back on everyone and say, if the Sermon on the Mount was followed to a T, there would never be any slavery. Why? Well, one, how did you generate slaves at the time? Most of it was debt slavery. And what did Jesus say about debt? What Jesus said was, if somebody asks you something for money, and you are to give it to them without expecting anything in return. If you federalize that as a law, that kills indentured servitude. Secondly, Jesus' pacifism, turn the other cheek, etc., makes that type of conquering, etc., impossible to create slaves from. Now, another thing that I would say is, if you look at history, if you look at the sum total of human history, slavery is the norm, actually. Slavery is still continuing. We saw what happened when Hillary and her infinite wisdom and Barack Obama and his infinite wisdom did what they did in Libya. We literally had slave markets opened up again because the Arabs were obviously, I mean, there's a bunch in the Quran about slaves, etc., etc. So slavery is actually the norm in human history. What is an anomaly in human history is the folks who are benefiting from slavery to come out and speak actively against it, so much so that they end it. That is an anomaly in history. And I would say that Christianity are one of the few groups of people or religious groups where we take part in that anomaly of history, because it was Christians that were fighting tooth and nail against the transatlantic slave trade in America. And then, of course, you had William Wilberforce across the pond. And obviously, from my vantage point, the best case scenario would have been a William Wilberforce type emancipation and not a civil war that cost 600,000 dead Americans. Whether or not the guys on the South were good or bad people, I think we can all agree that it's massively tragic that Americans had to kill their own people. And a lot of Abraham Lincoln himself alluded to it, but a lot of the ministers at the time, after the Civil War, which is very, very convenient, after the Civil War, a lot of the ministers at the time were saying, this is God's punishment to us, specifically because of Exodus 21. Exodus 21 says, anyone who kidnaps a man and the person and sells him, the person who kidnapped him, and the person who was found in possession of him, both shall be executed, both shall be put to death. And so a lot of the pastors were interpreting the Civil War as, okay, God just gave America the death penalty. So that's how I'd answer that question. Good question, though. Very, very challenging. Another thing I'll say is the reason that slaves were encouraged in the scripture to obey their masters was not because Paul or the New Testament believed that slavery was a good and natural position for people to be in, but because what would have been the alternative? Remember, the Sermon on the Mount is a pacifistic document. You're not supposed to even return a slap. You must turn the other cheek. Well, we just got done watching Spartacus, the miniseries Spartacus. And the whole thing about Spartacus, right, is he's a slave, and they had their D. Snyder moment. We're not going to take it anymore. And they went and killed a bunch of people, right, to get their liberation. So if Paul were to say, slaves, disobey your masters, that would have forced a slave into a situation where he either is going to get an violence is going to escalate because his master has the right literally over his life and death. You could kill a slave if you wanted to in the Roman world, especially with the paterfamilias doctrine. Forget about it. You could kill anybody in your family if you wanted to as a Roman, but specifically, you could absolutely kill your slaves. So if you disobeyed your master, you got put in two positions. Either A, that means that your master is going to escalate the violence, and B, the only response that you could have is either to have more violence done to you, or you would get tempted to join one of these slave revolts, which went against Jesus's no violence ethic. So it's clear why Paul said that. But what a lot of people do not know about what the New Testament says about slavery, and this is really interesting because, again, not a lot of people talk about this passage, but I think it's extremely important. In 1 Corinthians 7, Paul is talking to us about certain stations in life. If you're married, then, stay married, don't get divorced for the kingdom, etc., etc. And then he says something here which is extremely interesting. He says in 1 Corinthians 7, each one should remain in the situation he was when he was called. Were you a slave when you were called? Called means became a Christian. Were you a slave when you were called? Do not let it concern you. But, now watch this, if you can gain your freedom, take the opportunity. Because in the Roman system, you had a system of manumission where you could buy back your freedom, or you can do some sort of act of virtue and get back your freedom. And so what Paul is saying is, if you can get your freedom in a non-violent way that doesn't violate the Sermon on the Mount, take the opportunity. So he says, if you're a slave, don't let it concern you. Meaning, I don't want you having any thoughts about joining any insurrection or any war, because we're not going to do that. We're not killers. We don't engage in violence as Christians. We're going to upend the Roman system from the inside out. That's not our strategy. But if you can get your freedom without bloodshed, take the opportunity. And now look at Paul's logic here. For he who was a slave when he was called by the Lord is the Lord's freedman. Conversely, he who was a freeman when he was called is Christ's slave. Paul is trying to bring down the free people and exalt slaves so that we're looking at each other as equals, which was unheard of at that time. Then Paul says, you were bought with a price. Do not become slaves of men. So there, Paul is saying, because you could actually sell yourself into slavery, remember, because you had a debt slavery. You're bought with a price. Don't become slaves of men. Don't do that. Don't become a slave. It's against God's will for you to become a slave. So that's why I would say that Jesus did not deal with slavery directly. That's because the Sermon on the Mount undid all the social mechanisms that are the root causes of slavery, and he did not want to be confused with one of these revolutionaries who, yada, yada, yada. I think you should listen to more Ron Paul and Thomas Sowell. Well, I come from the right, so I'm very, very familiar with Ron Paul and Thomas Sowell, right? So Jimmy Dore and all these guys are people that I'm not familiar with. Hello, Vin. What's up to you and the family? A lot of things could be discussed. As a former evangelicals, I had to ask myself these questions. Jesus said that slaves should obey their masters and masters shouldn't be too mean to their slaves. Jesus never said that. Jesus never really touched the topic of slavery directly. That was Paul, and I explained why Paul said that slaves should be obedient to their masters. Does progressivism have that last E in it? I don't know. I don't know. Do you realize that Christianity was forced on slaves in America so they'd be more obedient? Wicked bastard, do me a favor and source that for me. This is, and I have to say this. This is part of the latent sort of Anglo-Saxonism that a lot of people have. Christianity was in Africa well before it was in America. I mean, even in the book of Acts, you've got a Nigerian who was prominent in the Council of Antioch, which, if you know anything about Christian history, was one of the most pivotal councils of all time. And a Nigerian, literally, he was called the black guy. I mean, literally, was front and center in the church in Antioch. So this idea that Africa was completely pagan or Islamic and then Christians came and then the slave masters came in and forced Christianity on the people is just completely ahistorical. It's not true. That's not how Africa was introduced to Christianity. That's completely ahistorical. That's not true. The religion, the state religion at the time was Christianity for sure. And so they absolutely foisted Christianity then. But keep in mind, they would not allow their slaves to read passages like 1 Corinthians 7. They would not allow them to read 1 Timothy, for example, where Paul says that slave traders are equivalent to people who kill their mothers and fathers. They wouldn't let them read Exodus 21. So it's not as if the slave master was saying, hey, read this Bible, we're going to force Christianity. No, they allowed one guy to read, and they were very selective about what scriptures they would give to people. So this idea that Africans had their own religion and they were completely foreign to Christianity, and then it was introduced by the slave master, is just ahistorical. It's untrue. Secondly, the version of Christianity was not biblical Christianity. It was selected scriptures for obvious reasons. So unless you have a source that says otherwise, I mean, I'd love to review it for sure. We continue. And as Perkinos says, the monasteries in the Roman Empire were some of the only places in the empire where the slave trade and slavery itself was being openly questioned. That's correct. And again, slavery is the norm in humanity. A populace who is benefiting from slavery, actively revolting against it, is the anomaly. And I'm very proud to say that we are part of that very small select group of people that did that. I think that that's one of the greatest testimonies to the truth of Christianity, in my opinion. We continue. 1 Corinthians 7, he talks about that. Did you see the video about the Frito-Lay workers? No, I haven't seen that yet. My mom's a Jehovah's Witness, and they think if you miss out on paradise if you don't believe what they do. So I've wondered how us being imperfect beings can know which one is right. Courtney, that is a very, very good point. I would say a couple things. One, that, you know, the source document, even with Jehovah's Witnesses, is the Bible. So I would say just read the Bible yourself, right? Read the Bible for yourself. I think that if you read the Bible yourself with an open mind and an open heart, particularly the Gospel of John, the truth will become pretty evident to you. Okay, wicked bastard. You're saying Jesus talked about slavery. It was that slaves should obey and that masters shouldn't be overly cruel. That's literally it. Okay, wicked bastard, do me a favor and post that passage to all of us where Jesus said that. And I already explained to you that because of the principle of nonviolence, that the only advice you could give a slave is to obey his master, because if you didn't give him that advice, then you would put him in a situation where he could either be killed or he would be tempted to join a violent slave revolt, which goes against Jesus's pacifistic ethic. Okay? I would like more Westerners, Christians and non-Christian, to meet with Christians from the Middle East. That is a very, very good point. I agree with that. Okay, JVL, do me a favor and get us that information. Get us that information. There's no Christianity prior to the inception of transatlantic slave trade. Are you sure about that? Get us that information. Welcome to my world, ladies and gents. This is what happens. We've got amazing internet over here. We also have a monopoly over here with Spectrum. So that's why a lot of these political issues are important, because they screw you up. Okay, so we were talking about slavery in the New Testament. We're saying that slavery was not a controversial issue to the Jews at the time. None of them owned slaves for the most part, because they were they were under Roman occupation. They were essentially as slaves of the Romans. Secondly, the job of the Messiah was to proclaim liberty to the captive. Third, the Sermon on the Mount completely deconstructs slavery. If we lived according to slavery, if we federalized the Sermon on the Mount, slavery would literally be impossible. Fourth, Paul instructed his followers to obey their masters, because if they didn't, they would either be exposed to more violence, up to and including death, and they would be tempted to join the slave revolts, which were violent revolutions, which would have absolutely contradicted Jesus's stance on nonviolence in the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus had a different methodology for overcoming slavery that ended up working. And that methodology was actually to be good to the Romans. So, for example, Jesus instructed his followers, if you have to carry your pack a mile, walk with him the extra mile. Walking the extra mile is not like doing something nice for somebody you don't like. A Roman soldier could make you carry his pack anywhere from 50 to 85 pounds in the Mediterranean heat for an entire mile. And so Jesus's followers, obviously the Jews at the time, there was a lot of discussion on how to engage with these people and get your freedom. And obviously you had a group called the Sicarii, which I would have been a part of. They were known as daggermen, and their solution to Roman oppression was, we're going to get our daggers and we're going to stab these people to death. Jesus' solution was, carry the pack an extra mile. Well, how does that end Roman slavery? Well, it's very simple. We all know that the Roman system collapsed on itself due to its excess, among other things. But one of the more curious aspects of history is that by the end of the first century into the second century, Christianity became massively popular among two people: slaves, the people at the very bottom of the system, and soldiers, the people who were making the system go. And because of Jesus's radical pacifism, you have some atheists who say, who blame the downfall of the Roman government actually to Christianity, because Jesus's pacifism quelled the martial spirit of the fighting men of the time. Now, there are other issues that resulted in the end of the Roman Empire, but for a secular scholar to say that, and there's disagreement on whether or not this guy is right. I mean, Sam Harris ended up quoting this guy in his discussion with Ben Shapiro. It was actually really, really fascinating. Ben Shapiro was saying Christianity had a lot of good in the West, and Ben Shapiro said, well, I mean, Ben Shapiro is saying that. Sam Harris said, well, not really. I mean, it was because of the Christians that the Romans lost their fighting spirit. And I think that that's very fascinating. So that's the answer to that question. Now I'm doing an Ask Me Anything, so I'm trying to look. Vin will be on Jimmy Dore T minus 25 weeks. No, I don't think so. We got something really interesting for you guys coming up for sure. I'm just trying to look through these things to get some questions. We also had some people talk about Africa, the fallacious idea that Christianity was introduced to African people by white people is I'll just say that has to do more with ethnocentrism and a lack of understanding of history than the facts. The facts are, even in the zero period, you had Nigerian Africans, people of color, who were central to the advance of the church. As I said, you have a man named Niger in the Council of Antioch. And the Council of Antioch, for anybody that knows church history, is probably the most important council in church history. So I'm going to have to disagree that that's how Christianity was introduced to the West. Wasn't Judas a Sicarii? There is speculation that Judas Iscariot was a Sicarii, was among that group called the Dagger Men, from the word Iscariot, right? So you got Sicarii in Iscariot, and there is speculation on that, and that the reason that Judas betrayed Christ was because he had had enough of this pacifism bullshit, and he was trying to get Jesus to get violent, and he figured that if the Romans came with their swords, etc., that Jesus would get violent. And so when Jesus didn't, that's why you see the big changeover where he kills himself. So yes, it is speculated that Judas was a Sicarii. Now there is a guy named Simon the Zealot. Simon the Zealot. The Zealots were not, when you call a person a zealot, that was a political party more than it was a personal term. When we say somebody's a zealot, you're thinking about a wide-eyed crazy person. The zealots at the time were basically the proto-Sicarii. They were the early revolutionaries, daggermans, etc. That's why when Jesus says, hey, who's got swords? It says, Lord, here are 2 swords. And we know that Simon Peter had one. I would say the other guy that had the sword was Simon the Zealot. So both of the Simeons have had swords. That's what I think. Solidarity Reg asks an interesting question. How does Christianity relate to the 16th century South American cultures? I have no idea because I don't know enough about 16th century South American cultures to comment intelligently. And one of the things that I hate is now that everybody has a platform in YouTube, everybody wants to act like they're conversant with or familiar with stuff that they're not familiar with. I am not familiar with enough of 16th century South American culture to speak intelligently to that. I feel like you may though, so I'd love to hear your perspectives on it because I'm sure it would be fascinating. The Sicarii, Danny, were basically jihadists. The Jewish people at the time were under Roman occupation, and they were being heavily taxed, etc. You guys know the drill. And their philosophy of overcoming that was gunplay, swordplay, right? So that's who they were. Have you seen The Chosen yet? Yes. Yes, I love The Chosen. I love it. I watched season 2 again. I think it's great. I like Jesus. I'm an atheist now. Just felt like Christians didn't really care for Jesus and wanted me to turn the other cheek, so I'd give them everything. Even a worm resists. Yeah, SLV. I've got in the circles that I'm in, for some reason, I've got a lot of atheist friends, and I'm very grateful for that because I was extremely ignorant as to the nuances of modern atheism that my atheist friends patiently... And you guys will see once you get to know me a little longer, you'll be like, "Holy shit, we gotta be patient with this guy." But yes, a lot of my atheist friends have told me the same thing, and I'm not gonna come here and try to mount an apology for Christianity here because I really want to talk about how Christianity works in regards to progressivism because I'm trying to learn. Because I'm people are saying, "Why aren't you calling yourself a progressive?" And it's because I feel like I don't have enough information yet for me to intelligently say that. I don't like, talking off the top of my head, basically. But yeah, I definitely see what you're saying for sure. A lot of us have had, I think for me, the disillusionment with the American brand of Christianity came when I discovered the Alex Smith story. So Alex Smith was 28 years old. You age out of Obamacare. And so he was diabetic and he started rationing his insulin and he died. 28-year-old kid dead of something that in my mind is completely preventable. And so I didn't know this. I was completely ignorant of this. And all this had to do with the fact of his economic position. And so obviously, that killed me. And I went to tell my Christian friends about this. And they said, well, who's working as a waiter at 28 years old? And obviously that was devastating to me because I thought, we're supposed to be pro-life. So I'm hearing that people in my country are dying every year because of these preventable diseases, all because of money. Alex Smith is just in the wrong socioeconomic strata. He'd be alive right now if he was in a different economic strata. And to me, I feel like we killed him. Mm-hmm. I don't see. I think there are gradations of murder. Okay, probably to be technical, but Alex Smith, a baby in the womb, or a woman in Afghanistan who's about to be married, who a drone bomb disassembles her body in front of her family. All those are lives. And so it was a very hard moment because it wasn't one or two people. It was multiple people. And then we were talking about the kids in the cages. Yeah. And it was just this very cavalier.
They should have followed the law. It's like.
And it's hard to deal with.
Yeah.
I know that Jesus, I have my own separate relationship with Jesus, but to me that's unforgivable. And I feel personally we are all of us as Americans, to a degree, in my theology, all of us are responsible for that. Mm-hmm. So I carry Alex Smith and all these people around, and then I turn on TV, and the only people who are fighting for people like Alex Smith or a girl in Afghanistan is guys like Jimmy Dore and progressives.
Yep.
And you know, Cenk and all. I know it's not popular in these circles, but I'm telling you, as a person who was just exposed to this coming from the right.
Yeah, there's.
I'm not familiar enough
to
I'm not familiar enough with all these people to just completely cut them off and dislike them. The first person that I saw get really emotional about that shit was Cenk. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you get exposed to Jimmy and aggressive progressives. And after that, it was, I needed that psychologically, I think, because I was having a really hard time with that. Mm-hmm. So all that to say to my the last comment. Let me see if I can find it.
The progressive movement to me is very intriguing, and it's something that I feel like I'm slipping more and more into because, or not slipping, but choosing to kind of walk into, because we've seen what the Democrats and the Republicans can do. It's been year after year, you know, every election, it's basically the same thing. Just, I mean, Trump was a totally different cat, you know what I mean? But it's still, you know, I'm curious to see if we get some progressives in there, what that would look like. Would there be a lot more lives saved? Would Medicare for all really happen? Would we be able to do something about, you know, the children at the border? Or is it kind of one of those situations where, you know, it looks simple to us, but it's actually more complex? But how complex is it really? Like, if you put those as your main priorities, if that's what that's what our goal is to get Medicare for everyone, then, you know, what other places can we put sacrifices for that to happen?
Yeah. So Cenk and those guys are the only ones that were you know, they were the first folks that did that. You know what I'm saying? They were the first people that made that, like, really said, because I think emotions are important. You know, people say Jimmy's too emotional or whatever. I think they're important, and I think sometimes your mind can be kidnapped by your government, and sometimes your emotions can send you a warning signal. Something is wrong here.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so when you've been lulled to sleep by the apathy, your government throws all this bullshit at you to distract you from the real thing, so that your mind especially now, the modern mind, you can get subsumed and distracted with so much stuff to the point where you're just a zombie. Having somebody splash that cold water in your face and say, "Hey, wake up," is important. And so I'm never gonna say Jimmy or any of these guys are too emotional. I think emotions are some of the only things that we have left in our country, man, to save us from these crazy people. So, you know, that's kind of where I'm at with that. Really, really, really good question. Really, really good question. Somebody asked me a question about not necessarily ectopic pregnancies, but pregnancies where the life of the mother is at stake.
Oh,
a lot of people don't know this, but early as the 1850s, you could end a quick in that context meant living. You could end a living pregnancy if it produced a threat to the life of the mother. And obviously prenatal care in the 1800s is vastly different than prenatal kill now. But ectopic pregnancy treatments is not abortion. Even Planned Parenthood says that. So when a person has to deal with an ectopic pregnancy, that is not an abortion. Even Planned Parenthood would say that. So what I would say is I'm pro-life. If it's life of the mother, yes, absolutely. However, that is not the vast majority of abortions, and we already have law. We've had laws in place since the 1800s that took care of that. So I'm not one of these people. I will say, though, as a corollary to that, so I've answered that question, but I will say I do feel that there is a resentment of women in particular, not even necessarily the men who get the women pregnant. Mm-hmm. We've been, as you can imagine, extremely active in the pro-life sphere, and we've rubbed shoulders with some important people in that ecosystem, and we've even talked to a presidential candidate that had that as his 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you guys, as far as abortion goes, I said this in a previous stream, a lot of Republicans do not want abortion to end.
I know. When you told me that the first time.
Yeah. A lot of them don't want abortion to end. And the other thing is...
Well, say why.
Well, I want to, but I do want to talk about the misogyny, the misogynistic aspect of the pro-life movement, because there was one time where a guy completely lost his mind. And the guy was 6'4". Is it an exaggeration to say he's about 6'3", 6'4"?
No, you were right, because...
So I had to pull the homie aside, and I said, man, if you can't control yourself, you can't be here, bro. There is a ton of resentment of women in the pro-life circles. Mm-hmm. And it's to the point where some of these people are calling for the death penalty of these women. And if you refuse, then now you're not really pro-life. First of all, we can't be pro-life if we're advocating for the death penalty, right? I mean, that's just. But secondly, I've been in too many. I talk about this girl A. Obviously, you're not gonna put out her business on YouTube, but I've talked about this girl A who was overjoyed to be pregnant. In my opinion, she was 4 months. Everything was going great. And then I saw her 2 or 3 months later, and she had a flat tummy. And like an idiot, I just said, what happened to the baby? And long story short, she said, look, boyfriend broke up with me. He kicked us out, no place to live. He moved his other girlfriend that he was cheating on her with. He moved her in, kicked her out. And it's the middle of the winter in Maine. And all she had was her dad. And her dad said, listen, sweetheart, I love you, but you've already got 2 kids. I'm on state assistance. You can come in with 2 kids, but you can't come in with 3. Well, what choice did she have? Now we're going to go and execute that girl? So the guy who got her pregnant and abandoned her, he's fine. The father who basically said, unless you kill my 3rd grandkid, you can't. He's fine. Everybody's fine, but she's the one that's got to deal with the death penalty. Fuck that shit. Mm-hmm. No. So what I'm saying is there's a lot of misogyny in the pro-life. I gotta tell you, when leftists say you guys are pro-birth, you don't really care, you just care about controlling women's bodies, blah blah blah. That used to be. I used to just roll my eyes and dismiss that because I know that that's not what we're about. Mm-hmm. And the crew that we were with is not about me. We had about 6 or 7 adoptions between everybody, and dudes were doing stuff like under the table to help people that would blow people's minds. So I knew that wasn't our group, but the fact of the matter is I had to come to the painful, and I want to get off this topic because it's actually painful to think about, but I had to come to the conclusion that we were the exception, we were not the rule. The willingness to be that extreme, adopt somebody or give hundreds of thousands of dollars to make sure that person's okay. That's not the majority report in the pro-life movement. Mm-hmm. It's just a lot of judgment, in my opinion, a lot of misogyny, and a completely calloused, apathetic attitude once a child is born.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we would pass so many churches on our way to go try to help these women. And there was so few people that would go to try to help. Never mind just going, If out of the people that would go to help, there's a giant percentage of people that, like you say, are misogynistic. The group that we had was pretty good, but there's so many people that don't even set foot over there or don't even try. They just sit in judgment from their homes.
Yeah.
And that's wrong.
Yeah. And Robert is right. This is when I got introduced to Medicare for All and a couple of these social programs. I said, "Holy shit! Look at all the good we could do." Mm-hmm. We did an interview, guys, and we've got audio problems with the interview, so it's a week old. I think you guys would be very interested in the interview that we're doing, but there's a bunch of audio problems with it, so we've been working on trying to fix it.
Yeah, it's out of my purview.
We had an extended discussion with this person about it. Mm-hmm. But it's a hard realization to come to, because for us it's real human beings. It's a sex trafficked girl. That's one last thing about abortion, then we ask me another question, guys, please. But another issue was, there was this girl. She was like literally going to abort her child, and then we talked to her, intercepted her, blah blah blah, and we were talking back and forth. And as we're talking back and forth, we start learning this girl's story. And long story short, her boyfriend was actually her pimp. He was trafficking her, and it's not technically trafficking because he didn't like kidnap her or whatever, but he was exploiting her in the sex industry. And obviously her being pregnant meant a loss of revenue for him. So he just marched her straight to the clinic to get rid of the kid, and didn't give a fuck about whether or not she had any opinion about it. And so that's a lot of times when I hear like the pro-choice stuff, like that's not a choice. There's a bunch of girls that get shoved into those clinics. We've seen it with our own eyes.
Right here's the perfect example.
Yeah.
He said, if your girl had an abortion, she saved you from a lot of headaches. Instead of recognizing that there's the death of a child and someone that's not going to walk this planet because a child is reduced down to just headaches.
Well, and the other thing is the abortion industry benefits men exponentially more than it benefits women. The woman is the one, and again, these are discussions I've had.
Right.
A woman is the one that's left holding the bag, left looking at the school buses, or left driving by the playgrounds. Left
knowing that her womb became a tomb.
The guy says, "Hey, haha, no child support. My check's not going to get done." He goes on fine, lives his life, no problem.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that kills me about the way that the right handles the abortion topic. The woman is completely and totally demonized. And now they want to execute these women. So I said, wait a second, what about the girl that's trafficked and forced into the clinic? What about her? The guy's a pimp. Mm-hmm. And we've done work with sex workers, especially like grimy on the ground sex work. These dudes are threatening to kill these girls just for talking to the cops, much less. So I'm like, now we're talking about executing these girls? Mm-hmm. Are you kidding me?
It's awful.
We need to get them. So anyway, that's my take. I have a serious issue with the way that the right is handling the abortion issue. I obviously have an issue with the cavalier way in which, as far as I know, the left is just completely fine with dispensing human life. I think that's crazy. But I am not familiar with the intricacies of the left on this. I'm familiar with the intricacies of my team on this, and I'm telling you what I've seen from my team. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that everybody on that side is horrible, because obviously we come from that side. I'm just saying that that's been our experience, unfortunately. Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? The CRT theorists state that race is a social construct, and the LGBT plus theorists state that gender and sex is a social construct. Both are not taught in schools. Is there a difference between the two? Yeah, I don't think that that race is a biological reality, and the vast majority of geneticists agree with that. Gender is a biological reality. Everybody knows. Go to any doctor. Any doctor will tell you there's a vast difference between, hormone distribution, bone structure, et cetera, in men and women. So I don't think that folks who are positing LGBT ideology are making that much of a leap to say that gender is completely sociological and there are no biological roots to it. I mean, I've got LGBT plus people in the room, so I mean, you guys can let it fly. But solidarity, if you have a document or a doctrine that you can refer to, that would be even better. But I don't see an analogy there. And what I'm saying is I've never heard anyone at the scholarly level make that analogy either at the rate of saying, like, I've heard things like, oh, if a boy, you know, boys play with GI Joes, girls play with dolls. I've heard people say that's a social construct, and it's true because my son is a very masculine dude. As far as like he can get busy, he can get physical if he needs to get physical. But he had a little doll when he was about 7 or 8 years old, and he carried around the little doll everywhere he went, and he would feed it, put it to sleep. It was a little doll, like a pink doll. It wasn't like a cool doll. It was just a regular pink doll, and he had that thing for a good year. And I remember his mother at the time was like, "Hey, what are we gonna do about this?" And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "It's a doll." I'm like, "So?" I'm like, "You don't think he's gonna be a father one day? He's gonna need." And I would tell him, like, this is how you hold a baby, quick at the elbow, all that stuff. So the expression of gender is absolutely like a sociological construct. Boys aren't supposed to play with dolls, whatever. I mean, my son played with dolls, and we celebrated him for it. and so that is a sociological construct. But as far as like the difference between testosterone and estrogen, that's not a sociological construct. That's why when people are transitioning, if you're a male, you get those reduced and increased, and vice versa if you're a female. You don't need to do that if there is an objective real biology happening there. So that's the answer to that question. How many years have you had Ghosty? Ghosty is this. Where'd he go? Hold on, guys. I'm going to show you Ghosty.
He's fallen. He's coming.
Ghosty is
he's so cute.
Little doll, and this is from the band Ghost.
Yeah,
right?
You know how like when you have something for a while, you stop realizing how like cute or awesome it is. Ghosty's one of those things that doesn't happen with. He's posable, even his fingers. So you know, sometimes we come in here and find him like this.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who's doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he's so cute.
Yeah, so there's this band called...
We need to have them make a Vin and Sorry one.
I know. We did. So there's this band called Ghost, and these people got this to us because, you know, they like us. So that's Ghosty. We've had him for 2 years. Shout out to the homie. Do you know the side effects Jimmy Dore had with the vax? I have Joe Rogan's podcast queue up to hear what happened to Dore. Yeah, I saw that. There's like 1 million views on that thing already. I haven't seen it yet, but yeah, a lot. I mean,
I still have pain in this. So I got both of my shots in this arm, and deep in that like muscle or in the joint, it will be like aching. It makes me feel like how my grandmother described her arthritis. That started up after. Even right now, when I squeeze it, I can feel it hurting deep inside, and that was not like that before the shot. And it will, some days it gets like really, really, really bad. Like not, okay, that's an exaggeration.
I was going to say.
Okay, so sometimes it probably gets to like a 5 or a 6, which to me seems pretty high for something like that.
Why is the thought of freedom and leave everyone so extreme? I don't know what you mean by freedom and leave everyone. So you're going to have to explain that a little bit more. Stoudman says AOC literally just went out and stumped for Nina Turner. You don't have to like everything she did, but she's done more good than harm. Yeah, I blame Bernie Sanders for AOC's turn. And I got to be honest with you guys. I don't understand all the, and again, we are on the outside looking in on this progressive stuff, and that's one of the reasons why I'm not coming out and saying it yet, because I need to educate myself. I'm way too ignorant on this stuff. I mean, I literally know Jenk and Jimmy, and then you guys, you know, fill us in on stuff. You know what I'm saying? But as far as AOC goes, I'm just confused, man, because to me, what happened with her is obvious. She was doing her thing, and then in the last quarter of Bernie's, whatever that was last time, he bent the knee to the establishment. And I think he basically told her, look, I'm going to say this about Biden and blah, blah, blah. And if Biden wins or if something fishy happens, I'm going to be a good soldier and all that. And I think she was like, man, okay. So then she stopped stumping for Bernie. You guys remember that. And then she's changed. She said a couple crazy things and has done some crazy things afterwards. But she's a 29-year-old woman going up against the most powerful people literally on the face of the earth by herself. I promise you, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but I was watching a Kalinske video when I was researching him, and Kalinske was just like destroying her, saying all types of, oh, you got to stand up, you're a coward, blah, blah, blah. But meanwhile, Kalinske shoots a video and says, I didn't want to talk to Jimmy because I was going to have to ask him a hard question. So Jimmy Dore, I mean, God bless him. He's a guy on YouTube. Kalinske, a dude, couldn't stand up to another dude on YouTube, and yet AOC is supposed to take on the entire establishment by herself. I just think a lot of the criticisms of AOC are coming from people who are not in her position, not under her pressure, and don't understand the exigencies that she has to deal with. We have no idea the amount of pressure that she is under, especially, I mean, I know for a fact that after what's his face Bernie bent the knee and all that, I think Obama called her up and said, listen, you're going to probably have a 40-50 year career in politics, okay? You're always going to be popular. At the end of your 40-50 years, who do you want to be? Do you want to be Bernie Sanders, a guy who is an ideologue and people love him but has never gotten anything done? Or do you want to be like me? Hey, I didn't get Medicare for all, but I got Obamacare. That's better than nothing. I'm pretty sure that conversation happened. And to a 29-year-old who's just been completely disillusioned by a guy who could be her grandfather, and nobody's talking about the effect of the age gender distinction between AOC and Bernie, I think that that's huge. I think it's huge. And I think that throwing her out and not recognizing that she's 29 years old is a massive mistake. I think that's a mistake. I think it's a mistake. I think that, and again, maybe we're massively ignorant when it comes to progressivism. So maybe there's things that you guys know that we don't, but as an outside observer, that's what it looks like to me.
Was she born in America?
Who, AOC?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Lots of speculation now that AOC was groomed by DNC from the start to trick the progressive movement. Yeah, I disagree with that. I don't think that that's true. I don't think it's true. I think the explanation is a lot more simple. Who was the leader of progressivism? Who was the ideological and spiritual leader of progressive? It was Bernie. And he betrayed the movement twice. Twice he did it. And that is... To discount that and to say that you could be a 29-year-old woman in that situation and then you would just stick to your principles and all the rest of it. I'm not saying you as in individually you. I'm just saying like people are overestimating themselves. I'll say it that way. Very few people would be able to do what people are asking AOC to do. So I'm just not willing to say that she's a faux progressive or she's a this or she's a that. I'm just not willing to go there. And I don't necessarily, I'm not a major fan of her, but to me, it's just obvious. What is she supposed to do?
When Trump said go back, to the countries they came from, who was he talking to?
Say again?
When Trump said go back, who was he talking to?
He's talking about Ilhan. Ilhan was criticizing America, and he said, "Go to Somalia, fix Somalia, and come back." I got it a little. Yeah, then that's what's up, XBM? Yeah, I mean, I just think that it's really in style to say all these types of crazy things about AOC. I am way too far away from the situation to speak definitively to that topic. I think Bernie, and it's you know what's amazing to me? It's kind of like the abortion situation where the girl gets left with the bag, but the guy who created the situation gets off scot-free.
Yep,
Bernie
exactly
Sanders is getting off scot-free, and he's the father of the entire movement.
Yep.
And he's sitting there talking about how Biden's this and that and blah, 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 and Biden's his good friend. Bernie told us that Biden could win. What Bernie should have done was completely blow up the party. He should have went on YouTube and said, do not vote for Joe Biden under any circumstances. Yep. And so now he wouldn't do that, and now AOC is bearing the brunt of Bernie's cowardice. I'm sorry, I can't go there. I need more proof. I need more proof.
Yeah.
From my vantage point, I'm not seeing it. Yeah, but JVL, if Bernie is not going to ride with her, what can she possibly accomplish? It's not like what power? This is actually a question. I know it's a Q&A for us, but this is something I need. And maybe if somebody can speak intelligently to this, please jump on. Seriously. Because I got a link here. I can get you on and you can explain this to me. But what actual power does AOC have now that Bernie Sanders has completely abdicated his position as a progressive leader? Right? Somebody get on and literally, I'm not challenging. I need to know. Explain. What power could she possibly have? What could she do to affect the change that she promised to give to us? When she made those promises, she was assuming that Bernie Sanders was going to be the president. Mm-hmm. Right? Right. Or at least that's that Bernie was going to be a fighter.
Yeah.
She didn't. You think when she was saying all that stuff 2-3 years ago that she was going to do this shit by herself?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think AOC has, well, I agree with you, Stoudman. She doesn't have enough power with Bernie, but when you're young, you don't necessarily understand that. You see what I'm saying? So if Bernie would keep riding and fighting, then let her be the wild, crazy one, and then Bernie can be the sort of older guy that says, okay, let's be rational, and you play the Malcolm Martin, good cop, bad cop dynamic with the establishment, and you make it work. But man, to put all of this on a 29-year-old woman, like, I'm sorry, guys. I know that we've progressed, but we haven't progressed that much to where a 29-year-old woman of color is going to be able to have that kind of pull without a very powerful white man behind
ridiculous.
her. I'm sorry. Ridiculous. That's where I am. That's where I am. Yeah. I mean, Barack Obama, who is massively slick and knows how to work the camera, he had to take Joe Biden as his vice president. Why do you think he chose Joe Biden? Lack of, racial jungle racist Joe Biden. Why do you think he picked him? It's because we've made a lot of advances in gender and race in this country, but we're not there yet. That's why he picked him, guys. So my thing with AOC is that, yeah, she's the leader of the squad, but the squad are a bunch of under 30 junior senators who have no real power, who were betting on a progressive bloc in Congress in the same way that the Tea Party had a, rabid Republican, conservative bloc. And I'm not defending AOC. I don't think I've said like 4 positive things about AOC in my entire career on YouTube. It's just, I don't see what else she's supposed to do. Mm-hmm. But seriously, somebody call me and explain it, because I'll give you guys the link and then we can chat, because I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, somebody come on and have this conversation.
And again, it's not a debate. I'm not debating anyone. I just want to know. Mm-hmm. Why is AOC giving campaign money to corporate Democrats? Because the corporate Democrats are the ones in power, and the leader that she was following completely bent the knee to them. That's why. But at the same time, I'm holding out hope. I'm holding out and saying, I can't say all these people who are against her are crazy, because there might be stuff we don't know. Mm-hmm. So if people want to come and talk about it, then I would love to have that conversation. So my theory is that Pelosi and Obama and Bernie all got to her, and she's out by herself. And the rest of the squad does not have the pull that she does. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. Ilhan is extremely vulnerable. Who's this is the other one? Rashida Tlaib. I actually really like Rashida Tlaib, but she's not a very powerful, influential person. And Ayanna Pressley, again, not very. And we're in Maine. Ayanna Pressley is close by, but there's nobody with the dynamism of AOC. I feel like she's by herself. But again, maybe you guys can explain it,
drop some knowledge
in a different way, because right now it doesn't. I'm not seeing it. So that's my take on AOC. Nina Turner doesn't use corporate money yet supports AOC. So what's with the AOC giving corporate money to Dems? I think AOC giving corporate money to Dems was more lashing from Nancy Pelosi. It was a punishment to embarrass her publicly, which was successful. And these are seasoned politicians who are extremely devious, who have cards to play that AOC didn't even consider.
Get your supper out.
I predict the Democrats will lose a lot of seats and votes come midterms. Yeah. VC, this is like the worst possible time to come into any sort of progressivism or even flirt with it, because it's not looking good for 22, and it's looking horrible for 24. I'm almost certain that Trump's going to be back in 24, so it's not looking good right now. Not looking good at all. Ilhan Omar recently liked a post that said the USA should bomb Cuba, but didn't Jimmy do a show where AOC did a similar thing? Like, third party, yeah, third party. I'm that's where I'm at. I'm at third party, man. Like I said, we did an interview recently, and maybe you guys can maybe I'll do a poll. We've got an interview with somebody that you guys would probably be interested in, but the audio is fucked because it's got an echo on it. I'm so angry about it. We did the interview like a week ago. I'm working on it. I'm trying to figure. Amy Lee, do you have anything? Amy Lee, you're my tech guru. I'm gonna send you a file. It's got a massive echo on it. Do you think maybe you can do something with it? And maybe we'll just do a poll. Maybe we'll start practicing some real progressivism and have like a community type of thing where you guys can determine whether or not you want the file out, even if it's echoey. Vin doesn't understand who the Justice Democrats really are. No, I do not. All I know about the Justice Democrats is jank. Honestly, it's all I know. All I know about that is jank. I remember when they started talking about it. First of all, I love the name Justice, because to me, that's what this is all about, right? It's unjust that Alex Smith died in our country. That is fucking unjust. So I love that. So yeah, but I really don't know the first. All I know about Justice Democrats is jank, and I think that Kalinsky was involved in Justice Democrats, I think, and I do think that the squad were all Justice Dems, right? I'm not sure. I'm telling you, no change in this will happen in this country until we get money out of politics. Yeah, I know, Stoudman, but I got to tell you, I'm pretty resentful of Bernie. I got to tell you, I'm extremely, extremely, extremely resentful of Bernie Sanders. Not going to undo all the good he's done in the world, but holy shit, man. You didn't have to go in there and stump for Hillary, and you didn't have to go in there and stump for Biden. But anyway, it's all good. What can you do? they were supposed to be the Democratic version of the Tea Party. I got that from Kyle because I've been listening to some Kyle. They were supposed to vote in block in order to get progressive concession like the Tea Party, right? They were, yeah. And Kyle had said that they were supposed to be the left Tea Party. And then, okay, cool, Amy. It'll be there soon. And look, if Amy can do it, if Amy can't do it, then nobody can do it. Then we'll just put a poll out there, and if you guys say, yeah, Vin, release the video, even if it's you know, too noisy, then we'll release the video. But you guys are, it's an interview with somebody you'd probably want to hear. Jimmy Dore is 100% right. Bernie is terrified of being a pariah like Ralph Nader. Yeah, I think so. I really think so. I think that there's a big part of him that's very... Look, his age is a factor in that fighting the same fight over and over again for years with the same block of immoral people who are apathetic to human suffering. I think after a while, it really grates on you, and I always say a gut punch, right? Because when a person goes down in a, you know, violence is all I know, right? So all my analogies are violent, but, you know, getting hit in the jaw, you know, somebody presses that button in your jaw, everything goes black, okay? And I shouldn't even say everything goes black. If somebody presses that button on your jaw with enough pounds of pressure, you're gonna go from a standing upright position to looking at the ceiling 2 minutes later and not know why, right? But if you get hit in the gut, like if somebody gets you and you haven't been doing your core work, and somebody gets you off when you're breathing, if you're exhaling and somebody right there, and you go down, you can get up. But it is extremely difficult to summon the will to get up when you've been body shot that way. And I just think that Bernie took way too many body shots and he just tapped out. And in my mind, in my very ignorant mind in regards to politics of the left, I feel like he bowed out at exactly the wrong time. Like I have Bible studies with my sons. We call it man time. I talked about Jesus in the wilderness for 40 days. Like he was fasting. He wasn't allowed to eat for 40 days. And I said, what would have happened if Jesus would have quit on day 39? And I feel like that's what happened with Bernie. He quit on day 39 because, man, he had us, bro. You had us, man. So, yeah, it's sad. It's sad for me anyway. Please get Whitney Webb on your channel for an interview. Who is Whitney Webb? Is she the Sabs one? Which one is Whitney Webb? I don't know any of these folks, guys. Voting is the illusion of freedom. The presidential candidates are chosen by their party, not the people. You vote for the lesser of two evils. Yeah, it's true, VC. That's why I was asking Sori. I'm like, what's your you think you're free in America? We've got democracy in America, please. Third party is a pipe dream. Our political system is structurally built in a way that makes third party win nearly impossible, though still extremely difficult. The Democratic takeover is more likely. No, I 1,000, and I'm completely and totally ignorant of this stuff, but I 1,000% disagree with you. I do not think that a third party is a pipe dream, nor do I believe that. Look, Trump held the Republican Party hostage in 2016. There was a Never Trump campaign. You remember that? The Republican establishment got together and had a Never Trump campaign in the midst of an election. And Trump said, I don't care. And if you guys try anything funny with this election, I'm going to tell my folks not to vote for you. So my point is, if Trump, I don't believe that Hillary would have won if Trump would have broke from the Republican Party and started the Patriot Party or something like that. I think Trump could cause could have still won, even if he went third party. And even if he didn't, he would cause such damage to the Republican Party that he would have so many, it would essentially still be a third party because he could hold him at gunpoint. So I just completely reject that idea. And and obviously I understand where you're coming from. It's a very rational, well-reasoned response. But this whole idea that, no, we can change the Democratic Party from within, I don't know, man. I just don't see that happening. To me, the Democrats are more fascistic with their people than the Republicans are. I shot a video last year where I forgot who it was, but the guy basically said, no, the people don't choose, we choose, and then you guys get to vote on who we choose or whatever. It was crazy. So no, I don't think that a third part the takeover of the Democratic Party is possible. No, I don't. You've got Barack Obama there as the Emperor Palpatine, whatever his name is. And that dude is young and he's healthy and he's ruling that thing with an iron fist. Barack Obama called Amy Klobuchar, Beto, Buttigieg. He called them all the same night, one phone call, and got them all to quit on the same day and endorsed Joe Biden, who 2 weeks before that, everybody was mocking. There is no way in the world that the Democratic Party is ever going to change from within. No way. No way, no how. I'm completely against that idea. I don't think that'll ever happen. And I think what needs to happen is there needs to be a third party. We need to get behind somebody literally right now and start talking this shit for the next 3 years. And look, even what I'm saying about a third party is you get, I don't know, 70 million people. I'm just throwing out ridiculous numbers. I think Stoudman and the other guys are more. And then more, exactly. I forgot. And Candy Apple, and then Warren stayed in. Correct. And we all know why Warren stayed in because the last vestiges of a Bernie voter would have voted for Warren, right? So Warren was there to steal any remaining votes from Bernie, and then Barack told all those other people to sit down, right? So no way. The Democratic Party has signaled to all of us, exactly, Candy Apple, split the vote. Very good call out, Candy. Very good call out. She's totally right. No, the Democratic Party has demonstrated that they have no interest in listening to progressives at all. So I think third party is the only way. Goodness, why are you on YouTube discussing political issues when you obviously don't know? Remarkable. Well, Sandra, it might be laughable to you, but the way that I learn is to talk things through and to share opinions with people, right? We're a relatively small channel, so I don't think I can do much damage to any significant movement, but I do want to learn and I do want to exchange opinions. And so I understand your position, but I'm very grateful to the people that are patiently trying to help me figure this stuff out. I do think a third party could work. I think, for example, in 2016, if Donald Trump said, let's say the Never Trump thing was successful. If Donald Trump said, all right, I'm going to form a third party. I'm going to call it the Patriot Party. And all those people decided that we're going to, the rabid Trump supporter, right? They would have significantly hurt the Republican Party and Hillary Clinton would have won. And I think if we had a Hillary administration, we'd be in another war. But I'm almost certain that Hillary would have handled the COVID situation better than Trump. That's what I believe. But yeah, I mean, I have no problem saying that I don't know about this stuff as well as because I'm a guy that's I've been on the right side of everything my entire life. I will say though, my mother was very soft on Bill Clinton, but all the women on the planet at the time were soft on Bill Clinton. But she loved her some Clinton. But I think she said that everybody was supposed to vote for Dole. Remember when Bob Dole came out after that? So I don't know. The question that keeps me up at night is, would she have handled the border situation any better? Of course not. Come on, Stadman. These people don't care about these people at the border, bro. You know that. Come on now. Nobody knows shit about shit. Everyone's just doing the best they can. But we need now is accountability. If you say you're going to give people health care, give them fucking health care. Okay. No, I'm with it. I'm with it. And, you know, guys, honestly, like, how Medicare for all did not become front and absolute center in the middle of a pandemic. We're in the middle of a pandemic. These are the things that confuse me, where I look at the situations, I'm like, there got to be something I'm not seeing. And then you got Trump saying, oh, we might have to do something to supplement for those 28 million people that, you know, whatever, during the pandemic. And then simultaneous to that, you got Biden saying that even if the Republicans approved the Medicare for all, he would veto it. All this shit is happening in a pandemic, guys. I don't get it. So that's why I posted Sandra's comment, because it's clear that I still have a lot to learn on the situation. Like, I don't think that it's wrong for Sandra to say what she said. But the reason I'm shooting these videos, Sandra, and having these discussions is because I don't understand a lot of this stuff, and I don't understand the logic, and I'm trying to understand and trying to figure it out. But I'm sure, you know, okay, Ernie Eastman is saying scamdemic. I don't know, bro. I've had a couple people. I've had people that I've ministered to in church. A woman I saw every week, and she's homeless. A lot of these people in the downtown area where we live are destitute. They're homeless. A lot of drugs and a lot of you know, people getting forced to do stuff they didn't. I mean, you guys know what downtown life is like. And yeah, man, I saw that woman maybe 2 or 3 times a week, because we go down there every and she had some symptoms, and you know how healthcare goes for people with no insurance and people on the street. She had no insurance, obviously. She went to the hospital, and she was kind of, you know, just like Alex Smith was rationing his insulin, she was kind of waiting till the last minute. She shows up. They take one look at her, talk to her for, you know, do the test or whatever, and they looked at her and they basically said, well, make your arrangements, you're going to die. Didn't offer her anything, didn't whatever, just make your arrangements, you're going to die. So I went to check up on her 48 hours later, and she was gone. Another kid, Lee Ben. There's a Somali population where I live, and I played basketball around where I live, and I had a couple years where I played every day, and I'd come from work, play basketball with the boys, and then I'd go home to the family. And after basketball, I would always take about 4 or 5 of them in the car, and we'd go to you know, at 7-Eleven, I'd get everybody Gatorades and all that. And Liban was my favorite. I loved him. I loved him. So I'd always take Liban with me. He'd say, Finn, where's my Gatorade? And he'd always pick me. Liban would always pick me when we played basketball. Guys wouldn't pick me because I'd show up in my work clothes and stuff. And they're like, oh, you can't play. But Liban would always pick me. But anyway, I was shooting a video, actually, and Liban's cousin puts up one of these GoFundMe things for Liban's funeral because he died by himself in his apartment from COVID. So, I understand there's like a lot of political things about the scamdemic and things like that. Just keep in mind, guys, that when you say things like that it was a hoax and all the rest of it, Christine is really dead. Liban is really dead. There's people that really buried people that are important to them. So please be careful. Everybody's allowed to have opinions. Like I said, this is a free speech zone. People can do and say what they want, right? But be careful, because people have lost people. And Liban was 24 years old. And he was the only one here, and his mom and his family were in Somalia. So the problem that I had, aside from the fact that he died in his apartment by himself, is that his family was back in Somalia, and so they got that phone call. So please, guys, just try to be a little bit circumspect when you're talking about COVID and all that stuff. Because we never know who we're really talking about or talking to. So rest in peace to Lee Ben. I'll see you again, buddy. Inshallah, we'll split a Gatorade together. Inshallah. Okay. What else? What else have we got, guys? Yeah, he was just a baby. Yep, just a kid.
I have one, but can I out in my role like this?
You have what?
I have an interesting thought.
Oh, okay. That's good. Come with the comedy. We need the comedy, okay, guys.
I'm ready for nanites, so I'm in my robe here. But, okay, so I was just listening to this guy talk about, I don't know if I can say it like he did, but more or less, capitalism is the only real way that we could care for the poor. But he was saying, because...
Who said that?
This guy I was listening to.
Is it Dorian?
No, it wasn't Dorian. Oh. No, it wasn't Dorian. So apparently he was saying that if we stop living luxuriously and, buying unnecessary, like the people that spend money unnecessarily are actually the people that prop up our society. And if everybody started spending more foolishly, it would help the economics everywhere to go up. And so this guy was saying the only true way that you can, so basically because one guy was saying you shouldn't just spend money frivolously, you should take your money and just give it to the poor. And he's saying, well, no, we should take it and spend it frivolously on ourselves, and then it's going to create a bunch of jobs for the poor. So if you stop spending frivolously, you eliminate jobs. So they what do you think?
I don't even understand what that guy's saying.
What do you mean you don't understand what he's saying?
I think that's crazy, Tom.
How is it crazy?
So we should waste money
creating jobs.
How's that going to create a job?
Okay, well
so we create a job and we'll pay them $7.50 an hour or $7.25 an hour. They're still in poverty. That's not a living wage.
Let's give them a living wage.
Well, that's not capitalism, right? Because the minute you start, that's not laissez-faire anymore. Now the government's involved.
Okay, hold on.
People don't want the government.
No. Say more. I don't understand.
They don't want the government involved. What do you mean? Okay, get everybody jobs and pay them $7.25 an hour. I mean, technically, during the times of slavery, everybody had a job, right?
Well, yeah, but jobs would be better. $7.25 is better than nothing.
Is it?
I would say so.
I think if we're
I'm not for $7.25 an hour. I think that we should give full.
I know. If we're still at $7.25 in 5 years, that would be it. That would be damn near.
No, the question is that better than nothing?
I would just tell somebody, beg, borrow, and steal, bro. Look what's happening right now. Why is nobody working? People are saying, "Oh, people aren't working because they're lazy." That's not why. It's because they're getting more money from unemployment than they were at their local place. And now, what are the jobs saying? The jobs are saying, "Oh, we'll give you an extra $2 or $3 if you jump on." So now, because they're feeling it, now they're doing the right thing and thinking about giving these people a livable wage. So I would much rather a social program where they're getting paid like they get a government check the equivalent of $14.50 an hour.
Okay.
And then force these motherfuckers to pay their employees a fucking living wage.
Okay.
Because if you're getting 14.5 from the government,
a lot of what we get comes from other countries. We're going to force China to raise their living wage.
What are you talking about?
The stuff that we buy are importing and exporting. Aren't we taking in a lot of...
Our minimum wage has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, I'm talking about a global issue, and that's what that guy was talking about. So if we buy frivolously from France and China,
we could solve the problem. No, we could solve the problem globally as far as global poverty. We could solve that tomorrow if we wanted to. We spent $8 trillion
which is what? Just giving money?
We spent $8 trillion on jihad for the last 20 years, right?
I just think you should teach a man to fish.
We spent $8 trillion on jihad.
Yep.
Okay? So all that accomplished was killing a bunch of innocent people who've done nothing to us. So if we wanted to help the world economy, that's simple. Just for the next 20 years, we'll invest $8 trillion in not just the world, just America as well, and poverty. We could do that. But we're a global empire. We don't care about that shit. Americans aren't worried about fucking what's happening in Myanmar. We don't care, bro. We're good, bro.
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
So you think it's completely crazy what this guy's saying? If you're not coming from a Christian worldview?
The guy's a Christian?
No, he's not a Christian. He was kind of putting up a Christian worldview against this other guy's worldview.
That's a Christian worldview?
No, the Christian worldview was to give to people when they need it, to take care of people. That's what he was saying.
Yeah?
Christian moralism. Then he was saying there's this other thought where it's like, well, yes, you can give, but if you continue to give and give and give, eventually you won't have any more to give. So how about if we spend frivolously, then that's going to create jobs and they'll be able to sustain themselves.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Because that's not what happens. That's not how it works. That's not how economics works. And the other thing is, I'm not certain that just giving people money is a Christian worldview. Because if you look at how we built societies, if you look at Christian world building, that's not what happens. So like when Christianity goes to an area, for example, if you look at, for example, the early settlers, you had a mix of, Anglo-Saxon imperialism mixed in with Christianity, right? So the Anglo-Saxon imperialism was like the destruction and slaughter of the indigenous people and the enslavement of other people, right? But on the other hand, you had systems that get created, because remember, Paul said, if a man will not work, he shall not eat, right? So that is, if you can work, you should work, right? Which, by the way, is, Marx wasn't this like, hey, everybody could just chill out. That wasn't Marx. There was a heavy emphasis in Marxian thought on working.
Yeah.
So both Marxists and, early Christian economics said, yeah, you have to work. You have to work. And also, Jesus talked about a just wage in that parable. I will give you what is sadaqah. I'll give you what is righteous. So if you took those principles and applied a righteous wage with a good work ethic, that's all progressives are saying.
Yeah, that's solid. Oh, except
progressives are saying, why don't we give these people a living wage? They're doing honest work. And on top of that, who is running our fucking society when all the rest of us are cloistered here because nobody wants to die of COVID? Who was going out there doing all that shit?
Right.
It was the essential worker.
Yeah.
And we still can't get them $15 fucking an hour?
Yeah, no, I mean,
we're doing all this lip service. Oh, you guys are heroes, blah, blah, blah. Keep your $7.25. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
So anybody, I don't want to hear about job creation unless I'm hearing about a living wage, a righteous wage. Because...
Okay, well, what does that look like for, let's say I'm driving somewhere and I see a man on the side of the road, he's holding up a sign, he's asking for money. And I stop and I give him money. Then the next day I see him again. Like, what about that, a situation like that? Like, am I supposed to ask him, what are you doing to get a job? I mean, the man's probably just going to lie to me anyway.
I appreciate that. Rest in peace, ears. Thank you for that, Danny. Ask that question again.
You're a good faith actor with an open eye. Okay, the guy on the side of the road, he's holding a sign, he's asking for money. You stop and you give him money. The next day, he's out there again. Do you stop and give him money again? Or do you stop and ask him, what is he doing to get a job? And let's say he says, well, I'm disabled.
Well, I think...
Or what if he says, oh, I applied. And remember that guy... What, is there a problem here?
No, I'm listening to you.
Remember that guy, I don't remember what show we were watching some show and they were asking about like... You know, the person was like, well, I'm looking for a job. I've been looking for a job. And they said, okay, how many applications did you put in this week? And she was like, well, I put in one. Yeah, I put in an application. They said, you put in one application this week. How many have you done over the past month? It was only like 2 applications. They're not really trying to find a job if you're only putting in one application a week. You should be putting in multiple applications.
I agree.
Calling the places, stuff like that. So so in a situation like that, the person's on the side of the road, they're holding the sign, you keep stopping to give them money. At what point do you stop and say, hey, what are you doing about getting a job?
The person at the side of the road is working.
You consider that working?
You've heard me say this to the kids.
Well, yeah, it's more work than, yeah. Well, yes, but...
Well, no, don't overlook that. If it's fucking 10 degrees outside and somebody's out on the side of the street for 10 hours a day,
yeah,
that's work.
Yes.
Their body is working.
Oh, so you wouldn't even ask them. You just keep giving them money.
What I'm saying is, as long as we're paying slave labor wages, then people are going to find different ways to survive. Because God didn't make anyone to be a slave.
Yeah.
And that's why Jesus talked about a righteous wage. So if we're paying these people an unrighteous wage, and then, I mean, look what God basically had to afflict us with fucking COVID. Mm-hmm. So now the government is paying people unemployment with these plus ups that equals more than what they were making when they were working. And now people are going, oh, these people are lazy. Look what socialism does. It promotes laziness. I'm sorry, man. But some of the hardest work, I'm sorry, I'm reading, this is what happens when you don't read. I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about Marx. And this is why, the right-wingers are so, crazy about, going after Marx. Because if you read Marx wasn't saying, just sit down and just scratch your ass and don't do anything. Mm-hmm. But this is some unjust, look, these kids that are working in the mines for 8 cents a day, that's slavery. You're saying you're paying them, they're still slaves. You see what I'm saying? So that's my issue is that you can there is a lot of Christian economics overlap in my mind between Marxist thought process and what you find in the New Testament, especially as well as the Old Testament. And capitalists have such a stronghold in the mind of the average American that even religious people have canonized that economic system to the point where if you even question it, they're talking about excommunicating people from their churches. This shit is just crazy to me.
So would you say that a living wage would be not just enough to pay your bills and to take your wife out to dinner or whatever, but a living wage would give you enough to be able to take the excess and invest it or, start putting it aside to start a business for yourself? They need to be making enough where they can advance themselves if they choose to. Some people just want to actually stay in their apartment and, go to the casino, and that's the life that they want to live. Yeah. But for the people that want to invest and the people that want to better themselves, you have to give them enough where if they work, I'm not saying that they work a 20-hour work week, but they work the 40 and the overtime when they can, so that way they can get themselves, we work a lot, the stuff that we're doing over the years with the channel. We've put in a lot of time working all the different businesses. So that they would do that, you kind of set them up to be able to do that if they want to. Our whole entire economy would benefit off that.
In my mind, a righteous wage is a wage that makes it so that a person can live with dignity. And if you really want a Christian ideal, what's the Christian ideal? Is it 2 parents working? Is that the Christian ideal? No, it's not. All you pro-life Christian nuclear family worshiping / loving people, y'all are my people, right? These are my people. But the fact of the matter is, it is damn near, you would have to have a $25 minimum wage in order to support this idea that you got one dude working, mom stays home and takes care of the kids. Mm-hmm. And by the way, there's a hell of a lot of secular women that would love that setup too. Mm-hmm. But we don't have an economy where that shit is sustainable to that degree. Mm-hmm. So that's what I mean by righteous wage, is a person can live and work with dignity. Right now, we've got an economy that's structured to where women have got to work.
So wait, what happens? So I know the New Testament talks about the women, raising their families, and the older women should teach the younger women. But what about, Proverbs 31, where she goes out, she buys a field, she works it.
What about that?
She's working.
Yeah.
You just said the Christian worldview or something. I don't remember the words you used.
I said the Christian ideal.
Yeah. Oh, the ideal.
I said the ideal.
Yeah, but he was talking. The mother was talking to Solomon as if that was the ideal woman.
I agree. I didn't say the biblical ideal. I said the Christian ideal. It's not the same.
What the hell, babe? Can you separate that? What do you mean?
Well, the biblical ideal is what the Bible says. So
Yeah.
you've got a woman working outside the home, and she's completely independent of her man. I mean, she's married, but the guy's just kind of there as she's married. The star of the show is her, and it doesn't talk about how good she looks. It doesn't talk about her waist size. It talks about she's a business owner, she's an entrepreneur, she's a boss, and she's good to everybody, and she takes care of the poor, and she's a land surveyor. She's a very skilled individual that she's got her shit together. Mm-hmm. Yes, there's a category for that in the Bible. And you also have female warriors in the Bible, and then female judges who ran the entire nation, female presidents in the Bible. So that's what the Bible says. Then there's Christian idealism, which is the view of the world that Christianity packages and gives to people. So the view of the world in the Christian ideal, I'm talking about the Western Christian ideal, is that the woman stays home. You have about 2 or 3 kids. You have a dog, picket fence, that type of thing. And what I'm saying is, okay, that's the ideal. And all these people focus on the family. Everything is about the family. Then great. But you cannot have that world, James Dobson, when the guy's making $7.25 an hour. Mm-hmm. You can't have mom staying home. And by the way, mom's not going to have 2 or 3 kids when she knows that the best they can do is $7.25 an hour. She ain't going to have 2 or 3 kids. Has that ever occurred to you? Maybe that's why abortions are happening. So that's what I'm saying. Is like, here they are presenting this ideal. Man,
so the
wife.
Christian ideal is not necessarily biblical, is what you're saying.
No.
So you're saying that
not.
a man and a woman both working is biblical.
Yeah, there's an obvious category for men and women working simultaneously, for sure. Proverbs 31.
Not that she's working from the home, but she's actually like
she's not working from the home. She surveys a field and buys it. Now
Right.
the issue is that, remember, in the ancient Near East, you had communal living. So your dad's house was here, and they would just build a side house, and that was your house. And then when your dad died, you just moved in the main house, and then so they had communal living. So she went out to survey the field. Her kids weren't by themselves. They would have never said, let's take our kids and send them to strangers and pay strangers $500 a week. Mm-hmm. That would have never happened. Mm-hmm. But we're so segmented now that that's not going to work, right? Mm-hmm. We don't have communal living. So the Proverbs 31 woman was able to go out there and have that independence in the industry and all that because her grandmother or her mom was out there taking care of the kids. And on top of that, she had employees that worked for her. Mm-hmm. So, and it says she pays them and all the rest of it. So,
very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. James Dobson, like I said, man, we all grew up with that shit. And shout out to James Dobson. But the life that they present as the pinnacle of Christian idealism is unsustainable with our current minimum wage. But these are the same people that are against a just wage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Yeah, it's insane. It's unbelievable. I'm a property manager for just look at this. I'm a property manager just for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, single person needs $25 an hour to qualify minimum.
Wow.
Yeah, and this guy's on the left.
Just for a 2-bedroom and a 1-bath.
Correct. And again, some of that is regional, right? Like where they live and all the rest of it. But this system is for the birds, man. And there's no way you can say that you can harmonize this bullshit that we're doing to people with anything relatively close to anything biblical or Christian. Like, please. And, that's why I agree with that priest who said that Marxism, particularly Marx's antipathy toward Christianity, had to do with the failures of the Christians of that time and place to live up to their own ideals. And so when you have a priest literally abusing and degrading someone for being part of a union so that they can get an extra 3 cents when they're down in the fucking mines. And you have a priest attacking a person in the middle of the sermon, and you observe that as Marx. What the fuck is he supposed to say?
Yeah.
He's going to say, oh, I see what this is. You are using this entire imaginary structure to uphold the bourgeoisie. I know what you are. I know what you guys are doing. I see you guys are the opiate of the masses. Well, that type of Christianity that he was criticizing is absolutely the opiate of the masses. You're supposed to live in such a way that the powerful want you crucified. That's what a Christian's supposed to be. The powerful should always want to crucify you. So when Marx looks at a version of Christianity where the priests are carrying water in a spiritual context for these rapacious capitalists, you know what? I think this is controversial. I'm almost damn near certain God raised up Marx to say that shit. I'm almost certain. Jesus said, if you don't let these little kids speak, the rocks will cry out. Meaning, if you don't listen to regular people, I'm going to send somebody and you're going to listen to him. I guarantee you. And that's Marx. Say what you want. That's my perspective, because the shit that these people were doing and continue to do is damn near satanic. And I don't care what anyone says. That is satanic, what we're doing to these people. You got little 6-7-year-old kids down there in the fucking mines, bro. Killing themselves for these people to get 8 cents a day. Fuck out of here. That shit is crazy. Sorry for my language, guys. I'm such a terrible representative of...
You think there's any connection there?
Probably not.
As in...
I think when Jesus said the rocks will cry out, what I think he meant was that God was going to send destruction, and that their temple would be rubble, and that the rubble, the resultant destruction, would be crying out saying, this is because these people were evil. So the rocks or the stones, he literally says the stones will cry out. He does say stones. And that's the same word used for the building of the temple.
Not one stone on another.
Correct. Correct. So what happens is...
the destruction of Jerusalem.
Yeah, these people had this religious edifice, the temple, but they were using the temple as a cash cow. So Jesus is like, oh, word? Okay. I'm going to send some people. We're going to fuck up your temple. How's that? But they were like, man, you ain't going to do nothing to the temple, bro. This is God's temple.
Well, part of the reason...
It's God's temple. Nothing's going to happen. And they were practicing economic injustice. And so Jesus said, oh, no, you guys are going to be punished most severely. Religious people who exploit poor people and have an economic system that exploits poor people, Jesus is like, I'm going to destroy this temple.
I think that there's I was reading where Eli, he was a priest in the Old Testament, and his sons were going in and they were breaking the rules of what they were supposed to do, and they were taking more from the people were bringing their sacrifices to the temple, and there was basically this 3-pronged thing that they could put in to the water and pull it out once the fat was burned off the food, and whatever they pulled out they could have. Well, they didn't want that. They wanted the meat fresh so they could roast it. And so they were just taking it from the people, and the people were getting very angry about it. And it was making it so that way the people hated the offerings. And so God judged Eli's sons because of what their actions were creating in the people. And so when you think about, situations like we were just talking about, where you have the temple and there was all that craziness that was going on, and then this prophecy comes out that says one stone is not going to be left on another, and then the city ends up burning and all the gold goes in between the cracks of the stone, so people are literally breaking them apart to get all the gold. So the prophecy was fulfilled in that. God takes it very seriously when someone's actions make it so that way people turn against God and hate God or hate the things that is about God. So, a lot of times the actions of the church have turned people away from God, and people have said, I hate that friggin' church. You know what I mean? But God hates that the church created such a situation that people would be turned away from it.
Well, that's why he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. It's because
what do you mean?
They were capitalists.
Oh.
It says you were fat, you were full of ease, you were apathetic to the poor and the needy. Okay, I'm gonna fuck you up. That's what it says. I know,
Yeah.
I know. You think that God's obsessed with booty sex. I don't think so. I don't think that that's what was happening. That's not what happened. That's not what the Bible says. Doesn't say that.
I wonder too, I was thinking about that story because you were talking to somebody about it the other day. Do you think that, because obviously the angels, it says that the angels basically, they were in human form, they looked like humans, and they came into the city, and the city was very, very bad. And so a group of the men got together to try to gang rape the angels.
Yeah.
Now, I'm supposing, you know how you meet different people that have been through a lot of trauma or a lot of whatever. Oh, maybe I'm reading myself into this. Like, as in, you can see the darkness, like in their eyes. You know what I mean? Like, you can see darkness.
Yeah.
And then there are other people that, you know, like a child, how they have that brightness behind their eyes because they haven't experienced sin and the effects of it, and, you know, people hurting them and them, you know what I mean? Like, they haven't participated in bad stuff yet, really. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it kind of makes me wonder if the angels coming into the city would have had the purest look that they had ever seen in their lives.
Yeah.
Because they had never seen anyone that pure.
Yeah.
And so in which case, when they saw that, they decided they should gang rape that. Like, there must be lots of layers to that situation, but one of them being, here's the, you know, the pure, and maybe they thought they were weak or something, that they could just, you know, like, I was thinking about that in conjunction with abortion. Like, we see the weak and they're just, I mean, we all know that babies are the sweetest of all of us.
That might be true. I just think that it's a lot more basic than that, which is an immigrant or a visitor, which is what those angels were posing as, is always, always, always going to be vulnerable and weak. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we had it in the ICE facilities. We reported on this last year where there were sexual assaults from other inmates as well as ICE guards themselves, and forced hysterectomies, et cetera, that happened over there. Anytime you have an immigrant population in a hostile country, they automatically, anything and everything happens to them because nobody will advocate for them. So,
I mean, word. Some people
I
will
do
get
want
after
to deal
you if
with
you want to
solidarity.
fix your cat.
So solidarity reg brings up a good point. Okay, so solidarity reg is, I'm self-employed and need two people to keep my business going. I can't afford to pay a living wage, so I guess I should just wrap my business up. I think that that's challenging because everybody knows at the beginning of your business, you're never going to turn a profit in the first couple of years, right? So
you know what this reminds me of? Remember we were watching that show about, like, they had to make $1 million in X amount of time?
Yes.
And when they first started out, like, they weren't getting paid much. And then when his business came up, they also profited.
Correct.
So there might be somebody that believes in your business and is kind of throwing in with you because they are putting themselves out on the line and taking a lower wage when a living wage would be better. Maybe they're willing to do that if you say, once this takes off, buddy, I'm going to make this worth your while.
Yeah, but I think there's a much simpler solution to this.
Which is what?
But unfortunately, Solidarity Reg would vote against this if it came up, if he stayed consistent with his capitalist principles. Reg, this solution is very simple. What I would propose as legislation would be a small business incentive that says you're going to pay a living wage, you pay $7.25, we will account for the rest for the other $8, and we will do that with X amount of employees for 2 years. So the amount of time it takes for a business to get solvent, let's say, is 2 years.
Yep.
So the government says, okay, you pay $7.25, we'll finance the other 8 for 2 years, so that after that you will be 100% responsible for the $15 an hour for your employees. See, if we want to make this stuff work, we can make it work. We can make it work. You just take the money that we're using to bomb the shit out of people that have done nothing to us, and I'm not angry at you, Solidarity, but I'm angry at our fucking apathy, because we're going around the fucking, and you're not an American, but we're going around this fucking planet bombing the shit out of people and killing motherfuckers for no reason. And some of these people I know personally are some of the most beautiful people on the planet Earth. That's real talk. So Solidarity, all you do is you say, okay, we'll take some of that money that we're using to bomb the shit out of innocent people, right? And we'll invest in guys like you who are going to start business and create jobs. And then we're going to give you 2 years to get you to the point where you can sustain yourself and pay your folks at a living wage. That's how you solve that problem. And I'm sure there are other people probably in this chat much more intelligent than me that can come up with solutions as well. I mean, I came up with that solution, Solidarity, like the minute you posed the problem, right? So it's not, if some punk kid like me can figure it out, a lot of people can figure it out, Solidarity, right? So that's how I'd answer that question. Biden has bombed more countries now than Trump? What?
Already?
I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But holy shit, that's terrible. Yeah. But here we go. And those are not free. And Biden hasn't done a damn thing. We did that because he took my tax dollars and did that shit in my name. And if we don't speak out against that shit, then we're participating in it more than we already are with our tax dollars. Anyway, I work manually for 10 to 12 hours a day. I go home and have to do the paperwork and bureaucracy, so now I have to pay the vast amounts of my profits to workers who just turn up and then go home. Ah, okay. So now, Solidarity, we got a different issue, right? So initially you presented the issue as almost this impossible situation where you couldn't financially support your folks with a living wage. And now that solution has come about, now we're seeing the real problem. My brother, I've got a couple businesses as well. Okay, I own a couple small businesses actually. Actually, I don't own any of them. Me and Soraya own a couple small businesses. Let's get that straight. And the fact of the matter is, our main business, she's the main player. And I'm not just saying that. That's just the fucking truth.
And we have another business that our son is the main player in.
And another business that I'm kind of like floater. I go between worlds, right? And I'm working on another one, right? So I understand all the exigencies and difficulties of that. Hey, listen though. We're getting the lion's share of the capital. So if we have to do the lion's share of the work, that's okay. You presented a problem that was real. You had an objective mathematical problem. I posited a solution that would have solved that objective mathematical problem. And now you've got a different problem that in my mind exposes what really is behind that question. It's the resentment of the common worker. Solidarity, in about 5 years, if your business really, really takes off, you're going to be living real good, bro. And I'm happy for you. And I hope that God multiplies your business by 100. But your employees have the right to have a dignified living wage. And if that means that you and I have to do a bunch of work when we get home, there is no getting home for us. We work almost 24 hours a day. There's not a waking moment where I'm not doing something channel related.
Me too.
That's how it is. But you know what? In 5 years, we're going to be in really good shape. We're going to be in better shape than we're in better shape than our neighbors right now. And you're going to be in good shape, inshallah, if God waters your business and grows it. But I can't help but think that there's nothing but the resentment of the average worker in that last statement that you made, bro. So that initial problem seems to be not really the initial problem then.
Which poses the question.
Unbelievable.
Why did you make the original statement instead of what was really happening?
Unbelievable. She says, that surprises you? Yes, it does surprise me. It surprises me because my philosophy is until a person proves otherwise, I'm going to assume the best of the person's intention if I don't know them. Right? So that's and I got to tell you, I don't understand the resentment toward the worker. These are the people that held us all up when all of us were terrified in our houses.
Yep. I was just talking to somebody about that the other day.
I don't get it.
They didn't care at all.
Doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
It's not resentment. My business has been going over for 15 years now. It's not going to get better or worse. Okay, well, solidarity, if your business isn't going to get better, then you got to look at yourself, right? If the channel isn't going well for me, I can't blame everybody else. I got to look at myself. I'm the business. That's what it means to be an entrepreneur. You fall or you stand based on your own ability to work the market. But I'm sorry, man. You're a man just like I'm a man. And now for us, I will say this. It's easy for us to say because we got a bunch of kids. So, we've got purposeful nepotism happening here, right? And we're building an empire for our kids. My kids aren't going to work for white people. One of my son had the unfortunate, we live in Maine. He had the unfortunate, and he had the unfortunate experience of that happening, and I'm glad it happened because it gives him the motivation to be an entrepreneur at 15 years old, and that boy grinds. But yeah, man, you gotta look, if you're opening your own business, and you gotta go out and you gotta grind, bro. And those workers, you've been in the game for 15 years. 15 years. And you can't pay him 12 quid or whatever it is an hour? I don't know, bro.
There must be people that you can talk to about your business and they can give you tips on how to improve it. Remember that whole thing?
Of course. What's up, 275? Of course. Look, Solidarity Reg. I'm not seeing it, bro. I'm not seeing it. My point is I can't afford to pay 12 an hour. I'm forced to. I have to let someone go. No. Solidarity. You asked for a solution. You were given a solution. You didn't like the solution because you don't hear. Solidarity, can we just be real? Because we're entrepreneurs and we know what's going on. Can we just be real for a second? Here's what's happening, Solidarity. You don't believe those people are worth that money. And even if you could give them that money, you probably wouldn't because you don't believe that they deserve it. You believe that you deserve what you have because you work so hard and you grinded and all the rest of it. And you do, bro. You do. But there's a reason I don't employ outside of my family. And it's because we can't afford to pay people a living wage. I can't afford right now to pay my kids a living wage, but there's whole segments of the business that they're going to get when they become of age. So my son is not going to have student
And we're taking care of all their room and board and everything else.
Right, we're taking care of their room and board.
They don't have any needs.
Right. No, I'm with you. But they are working for us. They're doing things that other kids don't do. And they are getting compensated now. But what I'm saying is we're setting them up and all the rest of it for that specific reason.
Yeah, for sure.
But you didn't even respond, hey, that's a good idea. That would work for my folks. You didn't even say that. Me personally, I don't think that you believe that those workers deserve that, bro. I think that you believe that because you took the risk and you work X amount of hours more than everybody else, that you deserve X and they're right there and that's as much as you're going to give them. Because I don't know how else to interpret the fact that you just brushed off a very viable solution that would keep you at $7.25 and give those people, a living wage. And again, if you can't get your business to the point where you can't get your folks a living wage after a decade and a half, then I think that you got to reevaluate yourself, bro, as a businessman, right?
Out of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Because what it means is that your business model, right? Your business model was structured specifically for that wage. So you structured your entire business model for minimum wage. And that's why after 15 years, you can't afford to pay anything other than that because that's your structure. Well, that's a bad structure. It's an unjust structure. And I think you should change it. Okay, Reg, how about this? Reg, here's a link, bro. Here's a link. There you go. Jump on and we'll have a conversation. I don't Stop putting words in my mouth. I never said I don't value my 2 employees. I wish I paid them I could. What was the solution? I missed it. Okay. I'll say it again because I thought I was pretty distinct in the solution. That I would say the government says, okay, Solidarity, you get 2 years. We will subsidize $8 an hour, and you pay your employees $7.25 an hour, whatever the equivalent is where you live. And then at the end of that 2 years, you should have your business to the point where you could take responsibility for your employers and give them a just and dignified wage. That was the solution I proposed to you. And I gave a pretty detailed response to it. So there you go. If you didn't hear that, then I stuck for a while. I'm sorry. I take back what I said. But you've been having this small business for 15 years and you got 2 employees and you can't pay them $12 an hour? I don't know, bro.
But that system is not in place. So let's say he says, yeah, that's great. I would do that. That system's not in play. So what's he supposed to do in the interim?
Give me a second, because I wanted to respond to what somebody said. Calling them workers who show up and don't do anything doesn't sound very appreciative to me. Who said that? Did he say that?
I don't think he said
something about going home. There it is.
He was saying that he works all day, then he goes home and has to do all the paperwork.
Yeah, he said, I work manually for 10 to 12 hours a day. I then go home and have to do the paperwork and bureaucracy. So now I have to go pay the vast amounts of my profits to workers who just turn up and go home. That's what he said. He didn't say they don't do anything.
Well, I think that what that guy is saying is you just explained that they turn up and then go home. You didn't even say anything about they come, they work, and then they go home. So it doesn't sound like someone who's appreciative by just saying. Well,
obviously,
if somebody said about me, she just turns up and then goes home.
Right.
That would be very offensive to me.
Yeah, that's fair.
I wouldn't feel appreciated.
That's fair.
But I understood where he was coming from. He's saying they get to show up, do their work, and go home. And he has to keep working when he gets home. That's what my dad did years and years and years.
That's what it means to own. That's what it means to be a business owner.
Yep.
You don't get to live high. You don't get to live the entrepreneur life until a decade in.
Right. It's true. Like we shoot those big fire streams on our other channel and do a bunch of videos. And it looks like, oh, they're just reacting to music and they just make money off that. But behind the scenes, we're doing so much work. All that stuff has to be edited. It has to be there's so many layers to all that stuff that people don't see.
Yeah.
But we're doing all that stuff. When we end the stream at 3:00 in the morning, there's still more stuff to be done.
Yeah. I'm sorry. You had 15 years?
I think there's something wrong with your business model, buddy.
I just think your business
need to get some
model.
help on that.
Okay, my customers are local sports team in my area. I've been serving them for years. That's great, but again, okay. So Solidarity, you just heard my explanation for how to solve your problem. Tell me what you think of it. So we'll have the government subsidize you guys for 2 years, and then you get to the point where you've either stacked up enough capital so you can distribute to your 2 employees fairly, or you augment your business model to account for a living wage for your 2 employees. When you say living wage in quotations, are you saying that what you're paying them right now, is not a living wage to where they could live in any sort of just fat? Is that what you're saying? And are you saying that type of system should continue, or should we create a system where everybody doesn't get paid equally and you should be always paid more than them? You fronted the risk and you're doing all the extracurricular work. Nobody's saying that. What we're saying is, your employees should be able to support their families if they're grinding out and giving you a steady 8 hours a day. That's what we're saying. So can you respond to the solution? And to Ben's point, what do your employees do?
That's what I was wondering too. But because it was Ben, I was like, wait, is that a good question? Because I never know what I'm like, is he trolling?
I don't understand this government subsidy thing. Okay. All right. So Solidarity, I'm going to say it one more time, bro. let's say that in America, $15 an hour, $15.25 is a livable wage.
Let me explain it once.
I don't think it is. But let's say that that's the case, right? So then I start a new business. I go to the government and I say, I'm a new business owner. I'm just starting off the ground. I have 2 employees. So what I would say is that the government would say, okay, you pay them $7.25 an hour, and we will subsidize the other 8 for 2 fiscal years of your business. So within those 2 fiscal years, you either stack your capital to where after the 2 years, you can then distribute at a living wage, or you have now 2 years to augment your business model to account for a living wage. And what I was saying is that is a perfect way to balance out the exigencies of starting a business with the exigencies of being a high value, high skilled, but undereducated worker. That's what I'm saying. And what I'm saying, I'm pushing back to you and saying, what do you think about that? Would that work or no? This guy just said he doesn't understand subsidies. How does he even have a business? Well, you could do a business without subsidies. I mean, we do. We haven't gotten any government subsidies with our businesses. But I should. Mr. Biden's got some plans for some African Americans. Like, take advantage of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I always feel weird about it.
What, the subsidies?
Well, if you get it, and then by default I get it too, and so it just feels like
more white people benefiting from our labor.
That's what it feels like. I feel yes. I'm like, I'm self-employed. I don't get government subsidies. Okay. Well, let me try.
No.
Why?
Because he's dodging this question, and now he's being dishonest. I gotta say it.
Well, okay.
Now you're just completely dodging it. We know you're self-employed. I've been talking to you for the last half an hour, big bro, and I've been saying I understand the exigencies of starting a business. We know you're self-employed. The question we're asking is, I just presented to you a hypothetical about government subsidies that could balance out your exigencies and the exigencies of your workers. Tell me what you think about it. Please stop dodging the question. I didn't say that you got the subsidies. I'm simply putting out an idea, and I want you to interact with it. Help me, Jesus. I'm trying not to be, but you know how I get when people start doing this funny stuff. Mm-hmm. I gave you the link, bro. Here's the link. Come on Ecamm, let's have a conversation. But don't sit here and act like you're asking a genuine question, and then when you're given solutions, you start all this other stuff. Just be honest. Just say, I don't value those people. They're just weed whackers. That's what they're doing, and I don't feel I should have to pay them that. That's all. Just say that. But don't come in here and ask these questions, and then you're given a solution, and then you're not, and you're trying to dodge it. Come on, bro. And, there's, everybody here knows what he's doing. Like, this is not
I thought it was a genuine.
Yeah, I mean, look at all these. Look. Let me show you. This guy's killing me, bro. Killing me. Okay, so look here are all his statements, right?
Oh, I remember all the stuff he said.
Well, he said some stuff for your own.
Oh.
Okay, so he goes. So first, he starts off with saying, "Oh
yeah, I didn't see all this.
I work manually." So he asked the question. He said, "Oh, I guess my business should be wrapped up because I can't afford to pay my employees, right?" And I said, oh, okay. He said, I can't afford 12 an hour. Mm-hmm. So then I said, I came up with a subsidy idea and, whatever. He says, I work manually for... So after I came up with the subsidy idea, this was the next thing he said.
Can you click on it so it keeps popping it on the screen?
I work manually for 10 to 12 hours. So that after I presented the subsidy solution, he then said... And that's when I said, okay, so it's not the money. It's the fact that you don't believe that they deserve it. This is resentment towards the worker. He goes, stop putting words in my mouth. It's not resentment. My business has been going over 15 years now. It's not going to get better or worse. Right? I said, okay. So then he said, it's not resentment, blah, blah, blah. He says, I cut grass for a living. My point is I can't afford to pay $12 an hour. This is after if I'm forced to, I have to let some go. That was after the second explanation of the subsidy idea. After the second explanation, that's what he says. So then I tell him a third time about the subsidy thing, right?
Yeah.
He goes, I don't understand the government subsidy thing. So we explain it again. My employees trim and weed whack, as you Yanks would say. And then we explain it a fourth time, and then he comes back, I'm self-employed. I don't get government subsidies. I didn't realize we were speaking in hypotheticals. Bro, I was pretty explicit with you about a possible solution. But even if I wasn't speaking in hypotheticals, who cares? None of your answers dealt with it directly. So now you're saying you want to deal with it directly. So please deal with it directly. Solidarity Reg, you just heard the subsidy idea. Wouldn't that be a good way to balance out the exigencies of you being a small business owner and the exigencies of your very valuable workers who are hard workers and have worked faithfully for you, but they're just simply undereducated? I live in Canada. Minimum wage is $15.50 in my province, because of which is $12.41 in U.S. I think the U.S. economy will be fine at $12.41 wage. I mean, you've got to look at the cost of living and all the other stuff. I don't really care about the number. Like, I'm not married to 15. Like, if the economists do crunch the numbers and say 12.54 will do it, then great, we'll go to 12.54. All I care about is what a living wage is.
I would love to see our business expanded to the point that we could give people a living wage and, hire other people.
I would love subsidies. Okay, good. All right. Okay. All right. We're in good shape then. We're in good shape. So we've made some progress. Okay. So 12 pounds is almost $17. So that's damn near close. That's damn near close to what we're talking about. And I've said that in my mind, a living wage is about $18. But okay, you would love subsidies. The problem, though, Solidarity, is you seem to be on the right side of things, and your friends on the right are not going to vote for that. Because that's socialism. That's Marxism. Look, see, here's Lambie. Free money. No, Lambie.
Right.
It's not free money. It's not free money. Lambie, when people give millions of dollars a year in Apple stock, they're not giving away free money. They're investing because there's a value there. Mm-hmm. There is a bet that's happening that I'm going to front this money to you because you're going to provide some value and I'm going to benefit from it. So when I'm talking about a subsidy, what I'm saying is the community as a whole says, hey, we believe in your business. Okay? You've proven that you're a legitimate business. Now you've got employees. So for 2 years, we're going to invest in you and your employees. And then in 2 years, you're going to be able to be self-sustaining. And now you've blessed our entire community. Wow. It's not about free money. It's about blessing the community and investing in the future of your community. Because if this brother can pay people a living wage and his business can expand, then he's going to generate more revenue for himself and he's going to be able to employ more people, and therefore the entire community gets lifted up. We've got to get away from this narrative that anytime you talk about some sort of government subsidy, we're just giving away free money. No, that's not how it works.
It's true. It would be an investment in the community, because if you can pay them a living wage, then they're going to spend more money.
Correct.
And that's going to help our economy all the way around.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct. That's
good.
Also, wage theft accounts for the most money stolen in this country every year. That's correct. When these horrible employers, I mean, I've got employers that owe me literally thousands of dollars. Okay? And good luck trying to get justice for that. Unbelievable. So, look, guys, Apple don't pay dividends. You also have to be well off to afford those shares in the first place. That is true. Apple is a bad analogy, but you get the point. But yeah, but Steven's telling the truth. Big problems is how checked out people are if we give them UBI and incentivize them to care about how the country is doing. If the country does poorly, they might lose their dividend. That is also true. Yeah, I like the UBI idea a lot, but again, the powers that be don't like that because what people want, and I'm not talking about you per se. I'm not talking about you per se. Reg. Oh, I'm sorry, bro. You came in at literally the wrong time because I'm about to land the plane in the next 2 minutes.
Oh, can I still go in the ending?
Yeah. Sit down.
Talking about UBI.
Well, yeah, UBI was part of a discussion. Really talking about economics and all that jazz.
Yeah.
Why do people think that isms will cure people from taking advantage of systems? What ism has ever cured society? Well, abolitionism, abolitionism cured the American society of slavery, and it cured the British society of slavery as well. Shout out to William Wilberforce. So there are a lot of social movements that cured certain societal ills. Your son just come from a business meeting? No.
Is he new?
This is Dorian. This is what he does, man.
Yeah.
This is who he is. That's DL Beluga.
Yeah. Oh, look, someone recognized me. XPM. So what did you say about UBI? You said it was a good idea, but you don't like the powers that be don't like it.
Hold on for a second. Just out of interest, I still paid my 2 employees when we were locked down over here in the UK. So I do resent the fact that you said I don't care for them. They are my friends. Well, I didn't say that you didn't care for them. And I didn't say that you didn't pay them. What I said was it appears that you have a resentment toward the common worker because, listen, bro, go watch that segment with me and you. It took you literally about 45 minutes to answer the question, and you kept asking it over and over again. So that leads people to believe that you have that you don't have much respect for your workers, especially when you say, "Oh, they just come and they go home." All right, guys, I got to get out of here. Much love to Solidarity for being a good debate partner. Real talk about UBI real fast. Automation is going to accelerate no matter what. You can't slow it down. We need to prepare for most blue-collar jobs being lost in the future. UBI is inevitable. Well, inshallah, I think inshallah UBI will be inevitable. I think UBI is the most logical thing to do in that type of situation, but I'm not very confident. Now here's okay. Hi. Can you honestly say America does not currently benefit from slavery? Of course not. But as a man who, if the Civil War didn't happen, would still be enslaved and would have a son in slavery, I'm glad that particular issue is cured. We've got a long way to go, but this idea that we should do nothing because it's very challenging is something that I just summarily reject. I reject that idea. The transatlantic slavery absolutely ended in at the end of the Civil War. And I know more than anybody that life has not been a picnic for African descended people in this continent, but it's much better because of that. And the other movements, the social movements that happened with the civil rights movement in the 60s and the current struggle that we're in right now, which I'm engaged in, so that he has less sin and oppression to fight against when he's my age. So that's how I'd answer that question. Nope, that's completely untrue. It's not turning a blind eye because it's affecting me, because we talk about the suffering of other people all the time. We've talked about it a lot here. What I'm saying is the idea, again, we have to go okay high with what you initially said. Okay? Here's what you initially said. Why do people think that isms will cure people from taking advantage of systems? And what I was saying was, well, we've got examples in American society where we had horrible, terrible, terrible systems in place that were dismantled. Were they perfectly dismantled? No, but they were dismantled. And if everybody had your ideology during the days of slavery in the antebellum South, we'd still be slaves. So I reject that premise. That's what I was saying. I did not say that we're living in a utopia and that there isn't more work to do for justice. I will be fighting for justice, and so will you, presumably, for the rest of our natural lives. You said it was a cure. It did cure the transatlantic slave trade. Okay, hi. Do we still have African descended slaves as we did at the antebellum period or no? That doesn't mean that Martin Luther King wasn't necessary. Doesn't mean that Malcolm wasn't necessary. Doesn't mean that Mr. Coates today isn't necessary, or me speaking out, or whatever. It's not. But that movement absolutely cured that iteration of slavery. We have other iterations of slavery that we need to cure, and we need other isms to attack those things. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Well, everybody... Okay, hi. I'm with you. Getting rid of all slavery, not outsourcing it. I'm 100% with you. I'm 100% with you. But whatever design you use to get rid of all those prison systems is going to be some sort of ism, right? It's going to be some sort of social movement that accomplishes that goal, right? Okay. So that's all I was saying. All right, guys. We have to get out of here. Much love to everybody. We're going to play some ping pong and Fortnite and all that jazz. It's going to be a glorious affair. Having said that, much love to everybody. Oh, snap. No, solidarity. Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad, solidarity. That's one of the reasons why I put the video thing out so you can go chat, because a lot of times when those chats, when these things happen, somebody said in the chat, people get misinterpreted in that. And so if I said anything out of turn, bro, my bad. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. But yeah. Okay. Hi. Next time we can talk about CRT for sure. For sure. Look at Stadman. I wish you many victory royales. Listen, bro, I had a 1v4 victory royale today. That means
we played like 5 games in a row. We just won all of them in that one night.
Oh yeah, that one. I was in God mode.
No, well, yeah, you got one match, but the entire night we won all the games.
Yeah, the entire night.
All the games.
Yeah, that was my 7 Vic night. I had 2 1v4 Vics, and then we had 5 Team Vics with you guys.
Yeah, we just serially played Fortnite. We won all of them.
Yeah, which is about to. Don't feel bad, just do better. There you go. I'll do better next time, Ben Moen. Ben Moen is one of my OGs from way back.
Is he from America?
Oh. One more. Send me your Fortnite username. You already have my Fortnite. We've played, you weirdo.
Yes, we do need an income tax for sure.
Randy Williamson. End income tax. Yeah. So DL Beluga's big on the end.
Here's the thing we need to do. It's going to sound very paradoxical at first, but we need to have the best infrastructure in the world, which includes social infrastructure and welfare, and the lowest taxes in the world. Then we'll be good. That's what we need to do.
How?
Exactly.
Do you plan to accomplish that?
How will we do that? That's the struggle.
The only way for that to work. The only way for that to work is for you to generate $1 trillion. So, like, if you were Jeff Bezos, you would redistribute that money so that we could.
Well, what do you
accomplish
mean,
that.
Well, just like what do you mean redistribute? What money? His shares?
Yeah.
Why would I sell my shares?
Well, I'm saying is like you would reinvest it into society so that we could do what you said we should do.
Yeah. I'd build a railroad. Although private railroads never work out that well, so.
Taxes support wars and prisons. Yeah, and Isaac says sorry for misquoting you, solidarity. Yeah, so look, guys, we're all in this together, right? And it's an emotional topic. It's something I'm very passionate about, but sometimes when you get emotional, especially when you're interpreting text for something like this, things get very high strung. So shout out to Solidarity for continuing to. Oh, you changed the account, Amy? Okay, Amy, I got to send you that link anyway. See if you can do anything with
Thanks,
it.
Bricktown.
DL wouldn't be flying off to space before hunger was. Yeah. Freaking shout out to Bezos, man.
Hey, don't forget Elon and the other
God
guy.
bless him. God bless him.
The bearded guy.
Vin, your tax support's locking up, black man. Look at Randy. Yeah. My taxes also go to support killing babies and abortion and bombing the shit out of people all overseas, right? So the taxing isn't the problem. It's the societal structures that make it so that we want to channel our revenue to those issues. That's the problem.
Stefan, are you British?
Holy moly.
You sound British.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he is. He is British.
Oh, yeah. You should see. I actually have a map of, like, the biggest empires. You should see the British Royal Navy walking around claiming all lines they can get the little hands on, the little grubby hands on.
Yeah.
You should see this massive swath of land.
Well, the sun never sets on the empire, right?
Oh, yeah. They have Canada, New Zealand, which is not really a country, but they have Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and Northern Ireland still, that are still under the Queen's sovereignty or whatever. Canada didn't become a completely sovereign state until the 90s. Yeah, so I guess the sun hasn't set.
Yeah, Randy, my issue is you're talking about a symptom. I'm talking about the root. What we do with our money has to do with what's going on internally. The money isn't the problem. It's what we do with the money. That's why the Bible doesn't say that money is the root of all evil. It says the love of money is the root of evil. Because that has to do with your motivations and your inner being. So if your inner being wants to channel money to do nefarious things, we have to deal with the inner being. Money isn't the issue.
Big Irish aristocracy. So how do you feel with the potato famine, Stefan?
What do I think of the Simone Biles situation?
Ugh. Really ugly stuff.
So, do you know more about it than me? What she doing? She took a mental health break.
I guess she was sexually abused by her trainer or something like that.
What?
That's what I read today. And
really?
And here's the other thing. I actually want you to deal with this. There's also a group of girls from some country that were forced to wear bikinis and stuff because they wanted to wear leotards instead because they felt more comfortable doing that, but they wouldn't let them. So then they I guess went on strike and went against them and they're getting fined and it's getting really bad. So
in Athlete A documentary about how former teen Larry Nassar was able to get away with sexual abuse crimes for so long in elite gymnastics. Under Caroli's system. Everybody's cheering her on. This is hero. All I could think was, why don't pretend she had a choice. She was not going to do anything but do that. I don't know enough about the story. To talk about it. Where is that? What is that? I don't know enough about the Simone Biles situation to talk about it. Yes, her coach who committed suicide. That was Nassar? Was Larry Nassar her coach? She was coached by Larry Nassar?
Is that someone famous?
Yeah, Nassar was the guy who was he was touching those girls or whatever.
Ugh.
Ugh. Oh my God. Yeah, I don't know enough about the Simone Biles situation, guys.
Did you hear about the bikini thing?
I didn't hear about the bikini thing or anything.
Yeah, 2020 Olympics have been crazy. You got COVID, Russia,
So it's a bikini situation?
They wanted to wear leotards instead of bikinis, I guess, and then they got fined for it or something. No, it wasn't someone. It was some.
Okay, I'll do some research on it.
I want to do a video about it actually today.
Yeah, I'll do some research on it.
They try to wipe us out.
I don't know enough.
Stefan, in my humble opinion, was an accident. The potato famine
was not an accident.
Was an accident.
Was or was not?
Well, it wasn't like an accident. This accident happened. I mean, it was. They weren't trying to wipe you guys out, in my opinion. But
holy shit.
But tell me more if you have more information than I have.
Man, I've been avoiding that Simone Biles. Apparently, Larry. I shouldn't put that up there until I know it. But yeah, evangelical Christians like you.
What, the Englishman?
Yeah. You're obviously going to be on the side of the English. You're always on the wrong side of this.
No,
stuff.
I don't like the English, bro.
Right, you don't like the English because you're an American, whatever.
Love the Sons of Liberty. Yeah, but Christians have been doing such a bad. That verse I think about when Paul says it's because of the Gentiles mock us. I just think about that. almost every day whenever I see the church doing something very suspicious.
Yeah.
I used to have a lot of hate for people who didn't like Christianity. I was like, what is wrong with Christianity? It's so nice. It's so beautiful. But now that I see what's going on, I'm like, I'm surprised people were even able to stomach Christianity after, all the stuff that's happened.
Yeah, I know. But you're going to change that, inshallah.
Yeah, hopefully.
You're going to change it. All right. You're going to do good. She cited mental health issues, and if she was my daughter, man, fuck the Olympics. I don't care about that shit. I care about her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All this shit about, she let down her country. I saw Ben Shapiro talk some shit about that.
Man, she let down, disillusioning me.
She let down the country. It's like, wait a second. I thought these people were radical individualists. Who cares? She's doing what she wants for herself. She's being an individualist. Why are these right wingers talking all this shit about this girl? I thought you guys were individualists.
Wait, they were talking shit about her? Seriously?
Yeah, they were saying that she was not patriotic and she didn't support our country.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, your buddy Ben Shapiro.
Yeah,
it said she abandons her country, but then she gets praised for it. Ben, what happened? I thought all you right wingers, I thought you guys loved the individualism, and that collectivism was Marxism. So Ben, you criticizing Simone Biles is Marxism. It's what is it? What do y'all call it? Social Marxism?
I don't know.
Isn't that what y'all call it?
I stopped listening to those people. I listen to Tucker Carlson though. He's legit most of the time. Yeah, he's real.
Yeah, this girl is already the GOAT. So I don't care.
She's apparently the most decorated gymnast in the world. Go USA.
Yeah, she's the GOAT. She's the GOAT. So I mean. Her teammates supported her. They had the most right to be upset. Yeah.
I don't know about all that.
Well, they did. They had the most right to be upset. I mean, she's like.
Countrymen have the most right to be upset?
No. They're on the team. They're on the team. They've all been grinding, and their chances of getting a gold now is reduced exponentially. Yeah, but we don't have. Listen, Ben Shapiro and anybody else. I don't own Simone Biles' talent.
Well, if she does play for the U.S.
No, stop right there. I'm gonna stop you right there. None of us owns her talent. That's her talent. That's the talent that God gave to her. So she can do what she wants with it. And she's under no obligation to go out and do that and put her mental health and her body on the line for this, especially this country. Huh. No. You Ben Shapiro, man. Whoo. That man has a lot of nerve. All the shit black people have been through in this country in the last 4 years, and now she's supposed to go out there and put her mental health and all that shit on the line for this country. I swear to God, Ben Shapiro, man, holy shit. But anyway, I don't care because, like I said, he's being inconsistent, right? Because she's making an individual decision, and Ben Shapiro and the rest of these bastards are trying to put her in a situation of the collective. You got to decide, Ben. You don't want to be a Marxist and start thinking like a collectivist, Ben.
What exactly is collectivism?
You should celebrate that, Ben. That's what Simone Biles did is like the epitome of Americanism, right? We're individuals. We're not collections of people. It's about the right of the individual. Isn't that what America's about, Ben? Isn't that what you say, Ben, when we talk about when we talk about taking care of our neighbor, and you call that cultural Marxism? And you're against collectivism because the individual is the pinnacle of American society? Okay, then. You should be celebrating. It's the most American thing she could have done. Weirdos.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense. We're getting a great look into Stefan's ethnicity here.
Not you, Ben Moen. I love you, bro. You're my man. You know that from deep. All right. Yeah. Her coach was a freaking human trafficker, for God's sake. I don't care about the decision that affected the entire team because, quite frankly, I don't know enough. I don't know enough about why she did it. But Jim Shelby, I mean, what is there to wow about? You saying that Simone is obligated to represent this country? Now all of a sudden, Ben Shapiro cares about a black woman? There's a lot of tone deafness with certain people in this country, bro.
You think Ben Shapiro's one of them?
No, I don't think Ben Shapiro is one of them. I think Ben Shapiro knows exactly what he's saying and how he's coming off.
Yeah,
I'm just
he's
saying
pretty
other
intelligent.
people are extremely tone deaf.
Oh, really?
Did you guys see the women's swim team, though, in the United States? China and Australia are all world breakers tonight. Holy moly. Did we get the gold? Did we get the gold? I hope America got the gold. Look, I want America to win, man. I'm one of the like biggest. We got silver. I'm like one of these biggest like, let's go America people of all time. But
good.
I'm a lover of I'm a lover of my people, man. So I'm a support Simone like 100,000%. I don't give a fuck why she stepped out. I don't care. I don't care if she said, I just decided I didn't want to do it. Mixed ancestry on mom's side from the poverty of people, immigrants, refugees, and very likely freed slave living in the same districts. That's the big homie.
So how's it like living in the UK? How did the elections work? I never got to understand how that worked.
Yeah. So listen, Steven, I got to set up a conversation with you and DL Beluga.
Oh, is he a fellow patriot? I'm actually more leaning nationalist than patriot, but let's have that for another discussion.
Okay. So, Steven, we got to set some time. The difference is you're proud of your people, not your country. Look, I believe that all people are sinners. So I understand the warts of my country, the warts of America. It just so happens that we are at the top of the heap.
Yeah.
And when you're at the top of when you combine, my philosophy is when you combine power with sin, you're going to get some sort of ism, and it's always going to be bad unless it's checked.
Oh, what's some of that phrase you told me, Johan? You said power doesn't corrupt absolutely, power reveals corruption.
Yeah, power does not corrupt absolutely, but power reveals corruption. And so on that side, I'm still proud of my country. I'm still proud to say that I'm American. I still love America. But I'm going to be the first one to call us out on our bullshit, too. So, that's how I feel about it. Where I'm from, you're at risk if you're a white guy with a black friend. They're going to pull you over and harass you. Hell yeah, they will, bro. Hell yeah, they will. And shout out to all of y'all who keep it gully and are in the struggle with us, man, because that shit is no joke, but it's very much appreciated. For sure. A 13-year-old skater girl won a silver medal. Now my government will use her as an example to lower the legal age for kids to work here in Brazil. Holy shit. That's insane. These capitalists are ruthless.
Do you know who...
These capitalists are ruthless, boy.
You know who, you talk about the Breaker Boys? Do you know who try to put a stop to that and try to put regulations on it?
Who?
You'll never guess.
Who?
Just guess.
I don't know. Bill Clinton.
No.
Who?
Much earlier.
Who?
Woodrow Wilson.
What do you mean he tried to stop? He tried to stop the...
He got some minimum wage legislation passed, and he tried to get the legal working age more regulated as well.
Oh, that's good. All right. Thank you for your answer. I
was expecting a more nuanced response, but...
Thank you for your answer on Simone Biles. I'll keep reading. Yeah, I'm going to read on it tonight, and I'll look it up and talk about it. I've been trying to, ever since what happened with Richardson with the Olympics, like, I'm out. I'm done. I'm not watching. Yeah, Sha'Carri Richardson.
Huh? What happened?
I don't even talk about it. She had some cannabis in her system because her mother died, and they suspended her. After that, I'm like, yo, I'm out. See ya. I don't give a fuck about the Olympics. I don't care. So, in my opinion... I'm just going to say this. If I was there, I would have gotten as many black athletes as possible to go home. I'd say, if she can't go, none of us are going. That's what I would have done. But,
really?
There's millions of dollars at stake for all these people in the Olympics. So that's just me with my idealism speaking. But holy moly. All right, guys. I gotta, but we never stand up for each other. Like, we never really do what
Who's
needs to be
we?
done. No, not black people. We never do what really, 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 really needs to be done when it's time to do what needs to be done. And that's why we're in the condition that we're in. But, you know, we need Malcolm. We need somebody. So if she were white, she wouldn't have been suspended. We'll never know, right, Jim? We'll never know. I did see a recent article about the Olympics and the glories of CBD. I did see that.
Oh, really? Hey,
with
Chaos Mama discussion.
Rapinoe and the rest of them. But
Woodrow Wilson. Oh, that's what you said. Yeah, Woodrow Wilson does make Trump look like Nelson Mandela. That's why I mentioned it, because I'm saying, look, Woodrow Wilson has this like dark side, but look at this. Like, you guys want to like. I always found that very dynamic very strange. That he allowed Jim Crow on a federal level past its time reinvigorated the KKK after Ulysses S. Grant disbanded them. But on the other side, he fought for the working man, which is very strange.
well, he fought for the working white man.
Yeah. But it's still a good. You still say that it's good that break.
Yes, it's better than
that's what I'm
nothing.
saying. It's really
fighting
interesting.
for the working white man is better than fighting for nobody.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a very interesting, dynamic and concept there.
Yeah, people are angels and demons, man.
He's basically I mean, the Birth of the Nation film had his quote in the film that he was screening at the White House. Unfortunately, that's the first film to be shown in the White House, which is probably the second most embarrassing part of our American history.
Why not get as many athletes to go home instead of just black athletes? That's very simple, Jim, because black people and white people don't get treated the same in this country. And the only time black people get openly celebrated in this country is sports and entertainment. So since that's the place where you have the most voice, that's where you should speak the loudest. So that's why.
Oh, you were aiming the same with the Russians?
Because it's important. It's important to expose at the global scale the hypocrisy of America. On the one hand, we're told that America is a country for the individual, but on the other hand, we're told that if a person refuses to join the collective and pledge to the flag, or refuses to join the collective and goes home to take care of their mental health, that now all of a sudden they're a bad American, they're unpatriotic. So it's very important to expose the hypocrisy of America to the global stage. So that's why I would have taken the opportunity to do that.
The League of Nations was a horrible idea. It would have massively violated our national sovereignty.
What would?
The League of Nations. I mean, if the UN actually applied its rules, we would have.
If she were white, she would have been suspended as well. Well, we'll never know, because she wasn't white. We don't know. All I'm saying is what I would have done, and what I'm saying is I support Simone for prioritizing her mental health. I'll have to look into it more to figure out exactly what her reasoning was. The stuff that you guys are saying is horrifying, and if it's remotely true, anybody criticizing Shorty.
And I think that she was still performing after that happened, from what I understood.
Of course,
so she was carrying that the entire time, doing her little flips and stuff like that.
I mean, if that was what was happening,
she's at her breaking point.
Like, if that's what was happening, women are called to do shit in this country that nobody's called to do. They're called to deal with all sorts of indignities and violations of their person, and they're just supposed to just keep going with a smile on their face and keep looking pretty for us because we're just here to consume them on TV. So there's a lot of things happening with the Simone Biles situation that I didn't even look at it because I'm so angry about a lot of those situations. So I didn't even look at it because I'm like, there's no way I can speak to that thing in a way that's in any way positive.
Fuck that guy. I'm so angry at that guy. I can't believe he was only in prison for 2 years. I cannot. I wish you would. I know you don't agree with the death penalty, but I seriously wish Abraham Lincoln would have had him hung. I cannot believe he let him escape after he killed 700,000 people. Our own good men that fought in the war. Good men and boys. Got 700,000 of them died.
You had a bunch of people fighting on the South. Those are good men?
Yes!
They're good men fighting to maintain the institution of slavery?
Most of them are just ignorant farmers fighting for their country.
Man, fuck those people, bro.
I'm saying the Jefferson, the figurehead, he was responsible. But the people were just fighting for their country?
They're not fighting for their country.
For their
the
state
people in the South are fighting against their country.
Oh, so you would want all of them to be punished for it instead of just Jefferson Davis, or the high-ranking general?
That's not it's God's place to say who should be punished and who shouldn't. I don't think it's appropriate for a Christian to advocate for the death penalty. So
it's still
he was a horrible person for sure. But I don't think
But 2 years, seriously,
it's not right. It's not right for us to wish death on anyone.
Okay, well, you think he should have gotten a longer prison sentence?
Yeah, you need to read the Cornerstone speech.
What is that?
Read the Cornerstone speech before you start playing Fortnite. Seriously.
Who read?
Read the Cornerstone speech.
I was curious who.
Go Google it and read it. It's very important. I've quoted it a bunch of times.
Oh, you have?
Yeah. But we're. I don't think it's appropriate. We're Christians. We shouldn't call for the hanging of anyone.
Okay. Do you think he should have got a longer prison sentence?
I'm sorry.
Do you think he should have gotten a longer prison sentence?
I mean, he's serving out his sentence now. I'm certain.
Well, so is Abraham Lincoln.
True.
So, but.
And that's for God. That's for Allah. That's for God to decide.
So you just let him walk free?
Look, Abraham Lincoln already let him walk free. He lost, and he had to bear the fact that he got a whole bunch of people killed, and he lost. And now he's got to answer to God, and he got his answer. So it is what it is. All right, guys. We really got to get out of here. Love your neighbor.
Take care of each other.
All right, hold on. So yeah, I do want to take that love thing seriously, though. I do want us to seriously love each other. So if I was unnecessarily short with anyone or had a bad spirit with anyone, please accept my humble apology and please forgive me. Like I said, a lot of really big things happening. So I appreciate everybody, especially the dissenting voices. Big shout out to Jim. Big shout out to the big homie. I forgot his name, but the guy with the small business. The guy with the small business. He knows who I'm talking
Rag?
about. Huh?
Rag?
No, it's a dude I was talking to before. But yeah, I want to be serious, and I want to. I seriously, the love your neighbor thing is a real thing, and I don't want it to be a slogan. So next time we do an Ask Me Anything, I will be even. I'll be more. What do you call it? Diplomatic or whatever. So anyway, yeah, I just never want it to just be a phrase, right? Like I want it to be like real. You know what I'm saying? Because I really believe that shit. Okay.
Also, shout out to Stefan.
Shout out to Stefan, of course, cool. Stephen, and Rip the God for sure. And Amy, I'm gonna have Soraya send you that link, and if you can work a miracle, great. Then we'll have a wonderful interview for you guys with a special guest that I think you guys will. Solidarity. Okay, yeah, Solidarity. That was my guy. Solidarity, do me a favor. Send me your email address, and I want to send you a free Middle America shirt, so I can make up for my my stupid temper. Seriously, VinceSoria@gmail.com. Send me your name and address and preferred shirt side, and we're gonna send you a Vince Soria shirt or a Middle America hoodie, whatever you want. Maybe a coffee mug. And nice. Maybe a coffee mug or two from for your employees too. Dead ass. Serious. If your employees want a coffee mug or a shirt, let us know, and we'll send that to you in a package. And I see Mark Graves had it. He said send some to his employees too. So we're all thinking on the same wavelength. Yes. Okay. Good. Okay. So. I'm dead serious, bro. Send me your email, VinceSoria@gmail.com. Send me the sizes, and we'll get you guys a Middle America package with some gear and all that jazz, and then you and I will be completely square. Okay? How about that? So there you go. Love your neighbor.
Take care of each other.
Middle America.
We are the media.
Till next time, guys.